BuildIT project. The project handbook. Project title, BuildIT. Build your future piece by piece. Project number, 2021 PL01KA 204081703. Program, Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnership for Adult Education. Duration, from the 1st of November 2020 to the 31st of October 2022, 24 months. Website, www.builditproject.eu. Facebook.com/builditproject. The European Commission's support for the production of this publication does not constitute an endorsement of the contents, which reflect the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein.
Introduction. The rapid transition to a climate-neutral Europe and the digital transformation are changing the way we work, learn, participate in society, and lead our daily lives. Europe can only seize these opportunities if its citizens develop the appropriate skills. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic has also had a profound impact on millions of people in the European Union who have lost their jobs or suffered significant loss of income. Many will need to acquire new skills and access new jobs. Others will need to upgrade their skills to keep their jobs in a new working environment. For young people, entering the labor market can be very difficult. The highly competitive European labor market requires an increase in key transversal competencies for employability which youngest people and adults, job seekers and professionals are not aware of or how they can be assessed in order to improve their employability potential. Transversal competencies are increasingly important in the socio-economic debate because they facilitate occupational mobility and thus make the labor market more fluid, contribute to the development of communication, adaptation, and organization skills, secure career paths in the face of increasingly non-linear and unpredictable careers. Adopting an approach based on transversal competencies linked to work situations implies a new vision that allows the articulation of integration, reception, orientation, and training systems. European policy. The Council of the European Union's renewed European agenda in the field of adult learning adopted on 29 November 2011 sets out 4 priorities for member states. Improving the coordination of adult learning policies. Increasing the supply of motivating, high-quality basic training. Making training more accessible, in particular by developing on-the-job training and using new technologies. Improving the quality of training for adult educators. The focus is on the acquisition of basic skills for the least qualified adults. On the 22nd of May 2018, the Council of the European Union adopted a recommendation on key competencies for lifelong learning 1. This recommendation identifies 8 key competencies necessary for personal fulfillment, a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, employability, active citizenship, and social inclusion. The recommendation also provides a common European reference framework for key competencies for use by policymakers, education and training professionals, social partners, and learners themselves. It also presents effective ways of promoting competence development through innovative learning approaches, assessment methods and support for educational staff. The new EU Strategic Agenda for 2019 to 20,243 adopted by the European Council on 20 June 2019 stresses that member states must step up investment in people's skills and education. Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnership for Adult Education. Erasmus Plus is a European program to support actions in the fields of education, training, youth, and sport. In particular, the program helps organizations to work in international partnerships and share innovative practices in the fields of education, training, and youth. From November 2020 to October 2022, in the context of Key Action 2 Cooperation for Innovation and Exchange of Good Practice, 5 European structures have carried out an action strategic partnerships for adult education entitled Build Your Future Piece by Piece, BuildIT. The Handbook. The Handbook of Strategic BBU Activities based on the innovative methodology of Building Based Upskilling is an educational tool which comes as a solution for the encountered need of innovative and engaging methods to be able to attract adult learners into courses, especially the underqualified ones, who are facing difficulties to understand abstract concepts and the fast-changing demands in the labor market. It also targets the priority of extending and developing the competencies of educators, supporting the setting up of and access to upskilling pathways for adults with a low level of skills, and achieves the objectives of providing adult educators innovative educational tools, design new models and educational resources, and changing the image of adult learning into a more attractive and accessible one. The handbook is structured into 3 modules containing the explanation of the methodology, steps to design strategic activities based on the BBU methodology with a conceptual map, and examples of 12 strategic activities, each of them meant to target the development of one of the 12 transversal competences according to the Catalogue of Transversal Competences. 1. Explanation of the BBU methodology. 1.1 What is it, and in which other methodologies has its inspiration? Building Based Upskilling was ideated as an innovative and interactive educational methodology, based on using building blocks, Lego and puzzles in order to conceptualize and visualize abstract concepts. The term abstract is sometimes used to refer to things that are not located in space or time. In this sense, numbers, properties, sets, propositions, and even facts can be said to be abstract, whereas individual physical objects and events are concrete. The capacity for making and employing abstractions is considered to be essential to higher cognitive functions, such as forming judgments, learning from experience, and making inferences. BBU methodology is an interactive methodology, using Lego, building blocks and puzzles to help the adult learners visualizing abstract concepts and to solve problems, using tools from their childhood. It also helps self-reflection and expression, combining individual work with teamwork, with the purpose to offer a voice to all the participants involved in this kind of activity. This methodology was inspired in already existing methodologies such as LSP or learning theories such as COLB, combined with coaching communication techniques in order to provide a structured method and activities to work on the 12 specific transversal competencies according to the Catalogue of Transversal Competences key for employability. Successful methodologies that served as inspiration. 1.1.1 Lego Serious Play, LSP, offers a unique and effective way of handling complex challenges and kickstart development. The dynamic Lego models used in Lego Serious Play are able to capture and convey remarkable amounts of knowledge compared to more standardized and one-dimensional methods. It, thereby, enables you to create social constructive knowledge systems that empower you and the people around you to become more successful right now. LSP is a scientifically solid method developed during the 1990s by management professors Johannes Roos and Bart Victor. LSP utilizes the diversity of the Lego brick. As a result, the Lego elements function as 3-dimensional models of business issues and challenges. Through narratives and constructions, LSP manages to improve mutual understanding, and it becomes easier to play out different scenarios and test different options. The aim of LSP is to create more imaginative and effective ways for leaders to develop more innovative strategies, build strong teams, and to deal with difficult challenges. By thinking with your hands and through serious play with Lego bricks, you cultivate your creativity and innovative capabilities. 1.1 Experimental Learning Cycle. Kolb's experiential learning style theory is typically represented by a 4-stage learning cycle in which the learner touches all the bases. 1. Concrete experience. A new experience or situation is encountered, or a reinterpretation of existing experience. 2. Reflective observation of the new experience. Of particular importance are any inconsistencies between experience and understanding. 3. Abstract conceptualization. Reflection gives rise to a new idea, or a modification of an existing abstract concept the person has learned from their experience. 4. Active experimentation. The learner applies their ideas to the world around them to see what happens. Effective learning is seen when a person progresses through a cycle of 4 stages, of 1. Having a concrete experience followed by 2. Observation of and reflection on that experience which leads to 3. The formation of abstract concepts, analysis, and generalizations, conclusions, which are then 4. Used to test a hypothesis in future situations, resulting in new experiences. Kolb, 1974, views learning as an integrated process with each stage being mutually supportive of and feeding into the next. It is possible to enter the cycle at any stage and follow it through its logical sequence. However, Effective learning only occurs when a learner can execute all 4 stages of the model. Therefore, no one stage of the cycle is effective as a learning procedure on its own. 1.2 What are the needs for it? European Union countries face a big issue regarding the difficulty of adults with low qualifications to integrate in the labor market. Together with the early dropout, 10.6% in EU, 17.9% in Spain, 14.5% in Italy, 8.9% in France, 8.6% in Slovakia, 4.8% in Poland in 2018 according to Eurostat. The lack of skills and key competences prevents a big percentage of the needs to access a labor market in which are required, according to OECD Skills for Jobs database. According to the catalogue of transversal competencies key for employability, those competencies are intercultural skills and global awareness, organization and time management, teamwork, empathy, and the ability to build relationships, problem solving, learning process, negotiation skills, leadership and collecting and processing information. The main reason for a low participation in the adult education is the lack of motivation, and it is caused by different reasons such as impossibility to relate theoretical and abstract concepts learnt in courses with the daily tasks, difficulty of understanding abstract aspect, lack of trust in their learning process and possibilities, fear of unknown. Adult learning is a sector in which educators need to be prepared to face the numerous reasons which lead to the lack of motivation of their trainees. Educators are in urgent need of innovative and engaging methods to be able to attract adults into courses, especially the underqualified ones, who are facing difficulties to understand abstract concepts and the fast-changing demands in the labor market. Analyzing the context and the statistics, we drew the following conclusion in terms of needs to address: low participation in adult education and high rate of early dropout. High unemployment rate of low-qualified adults due to lack of skills and competences. European Commission objective of reaching 25% in adult participation by 2025. Therefore, the creation of innovative methodologies as tools for educators to create a more participative and engaging learning process is the solution. We propose to face the encountered needs. By studying the curricula of formal education, we have noticed that there is no specific way of working the transversal competences. Therefore, the new BBU methodology and its activities which will be correlated to a specific transversal competence would be innovative in the area of adult education but could also be innovative for other educational areas. 1.3 Why to use it? Research shows that when we use our hands in a strategic or creative process, we express our thoughts and ideas more precisely and with greater nuance. This means that they become easier to understand and more memorable. BBU methodology is a hands-on teaching methodology. These types of methodologies are becoming more popular because it addresses not only the needs of kinesthetic learners but also the needs of visual and auditory learners. Therefore, kinesthetic learning is beneficial for all students and can aid in overall cognitive development. Thus, there are many invaluable benefits to kinesthetic learning activities. Help learners to create a connection between language and its concepts. A concept can be understood better with physical activities. There are several benefits of hands-on learning for both learners and teachers. Learners who learn kinesthetically will have the advantage of learning at a pace that is comfortable to them, and they will not feel like they are falling behind their more auditory or visual peers. As a teacher, using multiple different teaching methods gives you a chance to assess what each student's strengths and areas for improvement are, so you can use that information to tailor and personalize future lessons. Additional benefits of kinesthetic learning for students include: kinesthetic learners can often grasp the big picture of a lesson or activity quickly. Rather than thinking of a presentation as a chore or a task they completed at school, hands-on engagement means they will have a much easier time connecting that presentation to their everyday life. Encourages learners to think outside of normal classroom assignments and seek real-world applications. Fosters a spirit of curiosity and a drive to try new things. For older learners, hands-on learning is a chance to explore areas of career interest before committing. When you employ kinesthetic learning techniques, you have a unique and valuable opportunity to test your teaching methods in real time. By asking learners to get involved with the lesson via an in-class project, you can pinpoint the areas in which learners are struggling and the areas in which they are succeeding. This can help you shape future lessons and gauge whether a certain subject or topic needs a bit more time before moving on. 1.3.1 A New View. According to the American Journalism Review, Professor Matt Waite has struggled in the past to effectively teach the fundamentals of data visualization to his journalism students. Inspired by Mashable's Lego Congress time-lapse, Waite decided to try Lego in the classroom instead of starting with software interfaces. He chose a high-profile target for students' first visualization, the 2015 Super Bowl. Waite said the Lego blocks had an effect, noting that students immediately set about discussing what they would visualize and how they were going to make the bricks mean something. Rather than focusing on the abstract commands often associated with big data software, Waite's class was able to dive in headfirst and start building Lego visualizations on their own. 1.3.2 Meaningful Data. Waite's experiment speaks to the critical challenge of data visualization, making data meaningful. Without the ability to immediately grab and engage users, the impact of these visualizations is reduced, and if data source isn't clearly linked to actionable outcomes, the effort of creating visual representations may be wasted. 1.4. How does it work? 1.4.1. 3 steps. The process of the BBU methodology and its strategic activities. It is based on a 3-stages approach. Scaffolding, technique. Tap into prior knowledge. Ask learners to share their own experiences, hunches, and ideas about the content or concept of the activity and have them relate and connect it to their own lives. Sometimes you may have to offer hints and suggestions, leading them to the connections a bit, but once they get there, they will grasp the content as their own. During this stage, the activity is introduced through a real-life scenario, a simulation that may occur in the daily life of the learners, being important to set the ground starting from an already known and familiar situation. Exploration. In this stage the educators introduce the materials, building blocks, Legos, puzzles etc. Learners get to explore their role in the scenario and the materials given by the educators, accordingly to the meaning of each, helping to conceptualize. Abstraction. This stage is dedicated to debriefing and ensuring the understanding of passing from the simulation scenario and the concrete concepts assigned to the materials to the abstract competences and concepts aimed to gain and develop. 1.4.2 Materials. The materials chosen for this methodology were building blocks, Legos and puzzles due to their already proven successful ways of developing abstract thinking. Solve puzzles. 3D, visual, and word puzzles will train you to think of alternatives beyond those that occur to you immediately. Build 3D models. Research trusted source has shown that people in science, technology, engineering, and math professions enhance their abstract thinking abilities by doing arts and crafts projects. However, the materials to be used in the activities based on the BBU methodology are not limited to these, as the most important element is to use tangible materials to help conceptualize abstract concepts, to represent a need for the kinesthetic learners and to ensure the stage of exploration. The usage of natural elements is highly encouraged, such as rocks, sticks, leaves, creating a further correlation between already existing environmental elements and abstract concepts. Moreover, the creativity of each educator will ensure a greater variety of materials to be added to the implementation of activities. 1.5 For whom it is designed? Our direct target group are the professionals involved in adult education, such as adult educators, trainers, facilitators, coaches. They benefit directly from the BBU methodology, by being able to apply it in their work with adult learners. The direct target group is a key factor of the creation of the methodology, because they validated the new BBU methodology in order to guarantee the real utility and efficiency of it. The indirect target group are the NEETs and low-skilled adults, who were trained through this methodology and the strategic activities tackling transversal competencies. Teaching adults often looks very different from teaching children. Adult educators can make assumptions of their adult students that they would not make of children because adults have had vastly different life experiences and come with their own unique sets of background knowledge. Andragogy, or the practice of teaching adults, studies the best methods and approaches for effective adult education. 1.5.1 Malcolm Knowles' 5 Principles of Andragogy. Those teaching adults should understand and practice the 5 principles of andragogy espoused by Malcolm Knowles, a pioneer in the study of adult learning. Posited that adults learn best under the following circumstances. 1. The learning is self-directed. 2. The learning is experiential and utilizes background knowledge. 3. The learning is relevant to current roles. 4. The instruction is problem-centered. 5. The students are motivated to learn. By incorporating these 5 principles of andragogy into instruction, adult educators and learners alike will experience greater success in the classroom. 1.5.2 Self-directed learning. One of the most important differences between teaching children and teaching adults is the self-concept of adult learners. While young students tend to be dependent on their teachers to guide their learning and provide opportunities for application, adult learners are the opposite. Adult learners are usually mature and self-confident enough to know how they learn best, what their areas of strength and weakness are, and how to go about learning. They don't require much help acquiring resources or developing goals for learning because, in most cases, they have done this before and already have reasons for being in school again. Adult educators need to grant their students plenty of space and be there to support rather than guide. Another benefit of self-directed learning is that students can design their studies around their preferred learning style, visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Visual learners rely on pictures. They benefit from the use of graphs, diagrams, and illustrations. They learn best when they are shown what to do or what something looks like. Auditory learners listen carefully when they are learning and draw the majority of new knowledge through their ears. Things make the most sense to them when they are told how something should be. Tactile or kinesthetic learners need to physically do something to understand it. By performing something for themselves through a degree of trial and error, these learners will experience the most success. 1.5.3 Using experiences as a resource. Adult educators need to utilize each set of background knowledge in their classroom as a resource. No matter how old your adult learners are or what type of life they have led thus far, every one of your students will have acquired an extensive cache of experiences that you can draw on to make the most of what everyone brings to the table. Rather than behaving as if the classroom should be a level playing field and ignoring irregular stores of background knowledge, use them to enrich instruction. Your students could be coming from vastly different walks of life. Some will be experts in an area that your whole class could benefit from learning about or will have experienced something very unfamiliar to the rest of your students. Of authenticity and spontaneity that come from sharing with each other will prove to be some of the most powerful. Tap into the wealth of wisdom of your class as much as possible. 1.5.4 Relevance of material. Adult students are most likely to want to learn about subjects that will have immediate payoffs in their life, especially as it pertains to their social roles. As adults start to navigate marriage, parenthood, career positions, and other complex roles, they begin to orient themselves exclusively to them. Adults have little use for material that is not relevant to the roles they already occupy, and this is another reason for allowing students to play a part in designing their own curriculum. For example, some of your learners will want to learn about career advancement, but some, perhaps retirees or stay-at-home parents, will not need this information. The job of adult educators is to get to know students well enough to be able to teach their roles. Always keep in mind that your older students are there to accomplish something and probably have busy lives. The goal of adult education is to fit the needs of your students, who are more often than not opting to be there because they identified an area of need for themselves. Ask and listen to them about what they want from this experience. 1.5.5 Problem-centered instruction. Adult learners do not desire to learn about material that doesn't fit into their lives, and they do not usually want their learning to be abstract either. Adults are practiced, knowledgeable, and flexible learners that have a lot of problems to solve. Unlike young students, they do not usually need long to think about unfamiliar subjects before trying a skill out for themselves because they exercise their problem-solving skills every day and learn more each time. Adult educators need to tailor their instruction to specific problems that their students face rather than approaching their teaching one subject at a time. Andragogy is about spending more time doing than learning, and the quality of instruction is much more important than topic coverage. 1.5.6 Motivation to learn. When the student is ready, the teacher appears is a Buddhist proverb that applies well to all areas of education. No matter how hard a teacher tries, learning only begins once a student is ready. For most adults, returning to school after several years can be intimidating, and a certain degree of apprehension should be expected in adult learners. Getting past the initial uneasiness of adult learners can be a challenge. However, Many adult educators find that their students are eager to grow their knowledge. Adults that have chosen to go back to school are probably already motivated to learn or would not have made the choice to continue their education. Its role in these cases is simply to encourage this motivation and help your students maintain positivity toward learning so they can move past any discomfort they may feel about their situation. Listen carefully for teaching moments and take advantage of them. When a student says or does something that cues a new topic, be flexible and discuss it, even briefly, to show your students that their interests are important.
2. Explanation of the BBU methodology. 2.1. What is it and in which other methodologies has its inspiration? The strategic activities are planned according to the BBU methodology, as instruments to address the 12 specific transversal competencies according to the Catalogue of Transversal Competencies key for employability. Intercultural skills and global awareness. Flexibility and adaptability. Strategical and innovative thinking. Organization and time management. Decision-making. Teamwork. Empathy/ability to build relationships. Problem-solving. Learning orientation. Negotiation skills. Leadership. Collecting and processing information. Step 1, choose a competence to address. Step 2, create a real-life scenario to present to the learners, a simulation game, in which they need to gain/develop/use the selected competence. Step 3, decide the materials, building blocks, Legos, puzzles etc. Step 4, assign abstract meanings to the materials, as they will represent the bridge between the abstract to concrete thinking process. Step 5, create straightforward instructions and/or roles for the learners in the scenario created, time-based. Step 6, prepare a list of debriefing questions to ensure the understanding of the activity and give the space to all learners to express themselves. Step 7, prepare an evaluation method of the activity in which participants can self-evaluate the dynamic of the activity, but also their acquired learning and competence development. 2.2. Conceptual map of the connection between the BBU methodology and the strategic activities. 2.3. Recommendations for application of BBU methodology and activities. When implementing the BBU methodology, we recommend keeping in mind a few key points. 1. It is an interactive educational methodology that is based on using building blocks, Lego or puzzles to visualize and conceptualize abstract concepts. Objects are therefore a necessary item to have on hand, before you start any lesson or workshop. 2. It is a 3-step approach. Don't give the blocks to the learners right away. First introduce the activity through a real-life scenario. Then introduce the materials for the learners to familiarize themselves with them and use as part of their role in the scenario, and lastly do a debrief to ensure that they served their purpose. 3. Adults learn differently than children. They usually know what their preferred learning style is, since they have done it before. As an adult educator, try to give them plenty of space to learn as they choose and be more of a supporter than guide. 4. One of the strengths of this methodology is that the learner obtains knowledge through case studies, simulations, and group projects, hence making the learning more memorable. To your advantage, people tend to remember real-life situations more vividly. Incorporate interesting stories, hey points or names, and the learners will remember the exercise and its lesson long after it is done. 5. Keep in mind that for some learners, even building blocks or Legos might not be enough to conceptualize some abstract concepts. As you get familiar with the group that you are leading, offer additional verbal explanation that goes along with the objects, if needed. 6. It is up to the learners to decide how strict or how childlike and carefree they wish to be while using the building blocks. What might work for one group might not work for another. Some people wish to keep a certain level of professionalism and see the objects as more of a logical puzzle. Others might, for the duration of the activities, prefer to bring out their inner child and fool around more, making it more of. 7. Don't forget about the group discussion after the activities. This is a crucial step That is just as important as the activities themselves, because it validates the work that was accomplished in the project or activity. This can clear up any misunderstandings and opens the door for a discussion of different perspectives.
3. Examples of strategic activities. 3.1. Intercultural competence and global awareness. Name of the activity: the values and objectives of the European Union. Competences: target, main competence, intercultural competence and global awareness. Side competences: empathy and ability to build relationships, flexibility and adaptability, teamwork. Duration: total, 2 hours or more. Define the concept of interculturality, 15 minutes. Practice: improve and develop interculturality and global awareness. Step 1, 15 minutes. Step 2, 15 minutes. Step 3, 30 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Benefits of the competence, 10 minutes. Tips to understand and accept the differences between the people in a professional setting, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 15 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 10 participants. Materials needed, BBU materials, colored building blocks. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. The objective of this activity is for the participants to discover the intercultural concept and to relate it with the European Union. It's important for them to realize that they are living in an intercultural space and they have to understand the fact that they could work or exchange with people from another country, culture, or language, but they are still sharing a lot of values and customs. At the end of this activity, the participants should be able to apply what they learned in their personal and professional lives. They should be able to be more open-minded and to debate about the European Union. Description of the scenario/simulation game. Define the concept of interculturality. To the group, the educator explains the definition of interculturality, see Annex I, definition, and asks for the group examples. Then, the subject is introduced, EU, values and objectives. Practice, improve and develop interculturality and global awareness. Scenario, each participant represents a EU country. Each country is assigned a color of building blocks. Step 1. After the definition, this step is to illustrate how interculturality works in the EU. So, each participant has to present his or her country, according to personal knowledge or by researching on the internet: flag, national language, population, capital, religion, political system, national anthem, date of joining the EU. A first individual construction is made with the building blocks. The different elements each represent about 10 building blocks. The building blocks are distributed by tens if the presentation of each element has been well done. Step 2. Based on official documents, see Annex I, useful links, the participants read a text presenting the values of the EU. Comprehension activity with comprehension questions to collect the main values and objectives. Collective correction, pooling and debate on the right and wrong answers found. Explanation of the values found, definition plus reformulation plus concrete examples by the countries, which can quote historical or current facts. This step is to join the practice and the theory, to join the specific words of the values with the reality of the life together. Step 3. This step is about to reuse the previous contents. After a decision or vote, each country chooses a value to present orally. Idea for simulation: the participants play the role of a political leader who must defend this value, represented by their construction, during an official speech. FLE specificity: use the non-linguistic skills of gesture, intonation, pronunciation to imitate political speeches, use formal register and formal address. Finally, the building blocks are mixed together to form a new construction which represents a form chosen by the participants to illustrate the values of the EU. Debriefing: see questions in the debriefing section. Benefits of interculturality. Sort of conclusion by the educator about the benefits of interculturality inside of the EU. He can give examples about this lived together in a workplace and prove that with empathy, respect and knowledge, different people can do a good job together. Tips to understand and accept the differences between the people in a professional setting. Summary of the most important values of the EU that should be used in everyday life: solidarity, respect, equality, etc. Conclusion about how people should behave. Evaluation. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Define the concept of interculturality. Participants need to use their own knowledge to illustrate the definitions the educator is talking about. Practice. Improve and develop interculturality and global awareness. Participants should be autonomous in the activity, in presenting their country, in reading comprehension, and in the final production of the speech. They should be able to negotiate and debate with the rest of the group when choosing the countries and values assigned. It is important that the educator explains what is at stake in the activity and above all the role to be played by each person. Finally, the activity is fun. They have to take on the role of a political figure, president, minister or other, so that the final oral production is entertaining and convincing. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. Did you know all the EU countries? Did you need a lot of internet in your research? Think about the diversity of languages and religions. Did you have a maximum of building blocks? Why did you choose to do this construction? Do you think that these values and objectives are applicable to other scales? If so, which ones? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. After the activity, a self-assessment questionnaire on the knowledge acquired by the learners and their satisfaction with the final construction. Score out of 10 and justify your score. An evaluation of the participants by the educator on the progress of the activity, initiative, speaking, participation, understanding and production. A proposed evaluation questionnaire, see Annex 2 Annex I, definitions. Interculturality. Interculturality would then be defined as a pragmatic choice in the face of the multiculturalism that characterizes contemporary societies. DiCarlo, 1998, 40. Interculturality is a way of understanding diversity and interaction between cultures. As a field of research, it considers the resolution of social or educational problems related to the confrontation of cultural values. In the language classroom, the development of intercultural competence should give rise to a desire to understand the language and culture of the other. In this approach, attention is also paid to all cultures present in the classroom. It is about negotiating new meanings together for situations that are new to the mother culture. Interculturality then refers to a certain type of relationship between members of different cultures. It seeks to promote acceptance and avoid rejection. For intercultural dialogue to take place, it is essential that the values and ways of life of each group are valued. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. What is the European Union? Square, a union of different countries. Square, an association. Square, a company. 2. How many countries are in the EU? Square, 7. Square, 17. Square, 27. 3. Does every country have the same language, religion, and devise? Square, yes. Square, no. Square, I don't know. 4. What is the interculturality? Square, it's a way of understanding diversity and interaction between cultures. Square, it's a way that people make conflicts. Square, it's a way to create the EU5. Did the building blocks help you to understand the theme? Square, yes. Square, no. Square, no opinion. 6. What are the main objectives of the EU? 7. Did you know what solidarity, secularism and equality mean? 8. Do you think that respecting different cultures is important? Why? 9. If you could change something on the values and objectives of the EU, what would you do? Justify. 10. What did you think about this activity?
Name of the activity, Puzzles for the Pros. Competences target, main competence, flexibility and adaptability. Side competences, decision-making teamwork duration, total, 2 hours. Define the concept, 10 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Practice, improve and develop flexibility and adaptability, 1 hour. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Benefits of the competence, 10 minutes. Tips for being more able in a professional setting, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 10 participants. Materials needed, BBU materials, puzzles. Several puzzles, some representing the formal register, man or woman in a suit, office, etc., and others representing the colloquial register, scenes of life at home, with friends, casual clothes, etc. See Annex I. The puzzles can be made by the participants themselves in the previous sessions, cutting and pasting selected images onto cardboard sheets, which are then recut, thus acquiring the language skills necessary for the activity beforehand. Alternative materials: printer, cardboard, glue, scissors. Objectives and all learning outcomes. The objective of this activity is for the participants to understand how the consequences of the physical and linguistic behavior can impact their personal and professional lives. The way they dress or the way they talk are very important in the workplace. Adaptability and flexibility skills are necessary to adopt a positive behavior. At the end of this activity, the participants should be able to make the difference between a formal and a colloquial situation. After this, they should adopt a good linguistic and physical behavior related to the situation, focusing of course on the formal and professional environment. Description of the activity. Define the concept. The participants will complete the puzzles as quickly as possible in groups of 2 or 3. Exchanges during the completion of the puzzles should be formal. Use polite language, rules of politeness, avoid raising your voice, etc. This is a remediation stage of the linguistic knowledge already acquired. Debriefing. See questions in the debriefing section. From this debriefing, the educator has to orient and fix the objective of the final simulation. Then, still in small groups, they will have to brainstorm around their puzzle and propose keywords relating to the qualities and essentials to be adopted in the professional world. These should be used for the final activity, simulating a job interview by adapting their language, dress, body language, interactions, etc. Practice, improve and develop flexibility and adaptability. In the job interview, one participant in a colloquial register will interact with another in a formal register. To correct each other in order to achieve a formal exchange. It will also be interesting to discuss with the class the impressions of the audience and what should be remembered. Debriefing. 2. See questions in the debriefing section. Benefits of the competence. Conclusion by the educator about the benefits of this behavior. Showing a video. See Annex I. Useful links about a good interview. Tips for being more able in a professional setting. Remind of all important tips. Realize a sort of checklist. Evaluation. See Annex II. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Define the concept. The participants must adapt effectively and quickly to the roles to be played in relation to the puzzles. The points worked on should be used spontaneously and naturally so that the job interview simulation is as realistic as possible. From the puzzles, as much information as possible should emerge. The puzzles will remain at the center of the activity in order to keep a guideline and to keep reminding both parties of the language and behavioral requirements. Debriefing. Practice, improve and develop flexibility and adaptability. In couples, you need to work on the construction of 2 identical bridges made out of building blocks. The 2 bridges have to be identical in terms of number of building blocks, position, and colors. You need to use 3 colors in the construction of the bridge, as each color represents one of the pillars of empathy, listening, understanding, verbal expression, and you will build the bridge of empathy. However, you have special working conditions in which none of you will be able to see the other's bridge while building it, as you will sit back to back, therefore you will only be able to talk to each other. Each couple will present their bridges. Debriefing. 2. Benefits of the competence. The participants should take notes about the conclusion and comment on the video. Tips for being more able in a professional setting. To remind of all important tips, the participants should realize a sort of checklist to keep with them in case of a real interview. Evaluation. See Annex II. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. What are the differences between the puzzles? In which context could they take place? Why? In your opinion, How should these people talk or behave? Why? Do you know what's colloquial and what's formal? Debriefing. 2. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. Small black square. Do you think that language registers really have an impact on working life? Small black square. What impression does colloquial language give? Why or why not? Black square. What impression does the formal register give? Why or why not? Small black square. In what other contexts is it important to adapt your language and behavior? Small black square. What comment could you give to each dialogue? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. The evaluation should be short and mix different types of questions. See Annex 2. Annex I, Concepts. Flexibility. Flexibility refers to the characteristic of an individual that translates into the ease of apprehending data from different angles, imagining various solutions to a problem or varied and new uses for an object, a method, or a device. Adaptability. Ability to adapt to new environments or situations. Sustained language register. Expression that refers to a way of expressing oneself that belongs to the literary and rhetorical world. The sustained register includes a rare and varied vocabulary, long sentences, complex syntax, and figures of speech. This register is more suitable for written language. Colloquial register. Level of language, vocabulary that we use with people close to us, friends, family, etc. Useful links. Examples of pictures for the puzzles, formal. Examples of pictures for the puzzles, informal. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. For a professional appointment, you should wear A. Trainers. B. Flip-flops. C. Dress shoes. 2. When you are exchanging with your boss, you should A. Adopt a formal register. B. Adopt a colloquial register. C. Not talk. 3. What is the ability to adapt to new environments or situations? A. Jealousy. B. Adaptability. C. Reality. 4. Why do we not use colloquial language in a workplace? A. It's unrespectful. B. It's illegal. C. We can use it. 5. Did the puzzles help you to understand the theme? A. Yes. B. No. C. No opinion. 6. What are the main differences between the colloquial and formal registers? 7. What impression does colloquial language give? Why or why not? 8. If you were a boss, what should your employees do to have your support? 9. In a hypothetical future professional interview, would you be able to apply this content? 10. What did you think about this activity?
3.3. Strategical and Innovative Thinking. Name of the activity, Strategy of Building the Bridge. Competencies Target, Main Competence, Strategic and Innovative Thinking. Side competencies, Organization and Time Management. Teamwork. Leadership. Problem solving. Duration, 1 hour 40 minutes up to 2 hours in total. Introduction, 10 minutes. 1. Developing an action strategy. The working groups plan the strategy of building the bridge and its structure. 20 minutes, 45 minutes, depends on the group. 2. Strategy implementation, building phase, building the bridge by. Working groups, 15 minutes. Task evaluation, 10 minutes. Debriefing, 20 minutes. Theoretical summary, the theory of strategic thinking, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 20 participants. Materials needed, materials for one working team. BBU materials, sets of building blocks, in a box, exactly the same set for every team, 150 pieces of building blocks. Alternative materials, spaghetti pasta, piece of papers, stick tape. In case of using alternative materials, please change the weight to the adequate one, e.g., pasta will not hold 1 kilogram of sugar, it should be something lighter, e.g., a bar of chocolate, etc. Additional materials. 1 kilogram of sugar. Working sheets for each team, annexes. Stopwatch. Number of sets of materials depends on the number of working groups. All groups should receive the same set of materials. To make the activity more interesting, think about using different and more complex material, both in terms of material and size, in order to make the design phase more creative and interesting. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. After completing the activity, the participants will gain the knowledge about strategic thinking, improve of own strategic skills, know how to develop strategy, learn and improve own teamwork competencies, learn and improve own leadership competencies. In the end of the learning process, the participants should have knowledge about strategic thinking, know what helps to build strategy, what impedes, know what are their competencies in this area, know how important leadership and teamwork are in the success strategy. Description of the scenario/simulation game. The team's task is to build a bridge using the materials provided. They can only use materials that are intended for this task, building blocks in a box. The bridge should be built in such a way as to get the highest number of points. The work of the team is divided into 2 stages. 1. Developing an action strategy. The working groups plan the strategy of building the bridge and its structure. 2. Strategy implementation, building phase, building the bridge by working groups. Task evaluation. Debriefing. Practical summary, see Annex 3, the theory of strategic thinking. Evaluation. Instructions and/or role of the participants. The educator can divide the participants into groups of 4 people. One of methods of random selection can be adopted, e.g., counting, color drawing, according to the month of birth, etc. Special attention should be paid to mixing in one group of different participants. Groups take their places in the training room. It would be perfect to have already prepared tables for every working group. Instruction. The team's task is to build a bridge using the materials provided. You can only use materials that are intended for this task, building blocks in a box. Each team received building blocks of the same number, size and colors. The sets are identical. The bridge should be built in such a way as to get the highest number of points. The structure of the bridge may be free, but the bridge as a building must meet certain conditions. It must be stable. Must bear a weight of 1 kilogram, e.g., you can use a weight as a scale, or choose another material, e.g., 1 kilogram of sugar, for at least 15 seconds. Important note, the weight of 1 kilogram may vary depending on the number and type of blocks used. It must be measurable, length. The bridge can only have 2 supporting points, no additional support points are allowed. The work of the team is divided into 2 stages. 1. Developing an action strategy, 20 to 45 minutes, depends on the group. 2. Strategy implementation, building phase, 15 minutes. This time can be decided according to the group needs. The proposed time is between 20 to 45 minutes. This time can be decided by the educator, then it is proposed to have 15 minutes for this phase, or it can be decided by the working group and can be an element for another aspect of evaluation. 1. Developing an action strategy. Each group chooses a leader. Every group needs to decide who will be their leader. 1 leader per 1 group. Your task in the group is to plan the strategy of building the bridge and its structure. You can organize this work in the team in the way that seems to you the most profitable and effective. During the first phase, the strategy building phase, the team should carry out an analysis of the attached materials, including the scorecard, Annex 1, to choose the method of achieving the maximum number of points. Clearly define the goal we want to achieve in this task. Develop a bridge construction strategy that will include the way the team works, the use of structural and construction elements and other strategic elements necessary to complete the task. Prepare a drawing, a sketch of the bridge they plan to build. Complete the planned score achievements form, Annex 2. The stage of strategy implementation, building a bridge. Carrying out the task keeping in mind the goal and strategy defined in the previous stage. Task evaluation. After completing the task, you need to calculate the achieved number of points by using the planned score achievements form again. Compare the number of points achieved with those planned. Debriefing. Theoretical summary, Annex 3, with reference to the theory of strategic thinking. Debriefing questions. Were all the rules adopted by you effective? Has the goal been achieved? What influenced it? What would you change now during the strategy building phase? Is it possible to build strategies effectively? What elements have an impact on effective strategy building? How is building a strategy to formulate a goal? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Feedback collected from participants. How did I feel during this activity? What have I learned about strategic and innovative thinking? What have I learned about myself? What could be improved or changed? Or Evaluation questionnaire, Annex 4. Annex. Strategic thinking, theory. Strategic thinking is defined as the approach to today from the perspective of the future. In other words, it is an approach to anticipate the long-term effects of our actions. It is a creative, long-term vision aimed at achieving specific goals. The first thing to say about strategic thinking is that you cannot learn it by reading a textbook. It might be compared to walking, swimming, or cycling. This is not theoretical, you learn through practice. The most important element is the goal. All strategic thinking must revolve around it. The goal should clearly state where we want to go and allow us to determine how we can get there. At the beginning of every project you have to ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? What is the desired effect of my actions? You have to think about the ultimate goal, not about the next stages of achieving it. You think strategically when you meet the following characteristics. You know where you want to go. There must be a clearly defined goal or intention. If not, no strategy makes sense. You know where you are. You have the ability to determine what the current situation is and how far it is from the goal. You know how to define the path you must follow. This is really the key point of the strategy. This includes working out a way to achieve our goals. You know how to evaluate and improve things. There are many different skills that count in strategic thinking. However, there are 3 that are absolutely essential. This is because they allow you to build the key point of strategy. These skills are: the strategy must be constantly renewed. You cannot adopt an action plan and insist on doing so. You need to keep an open mind to resolve situations as they arise, redirect them when needed, and become uncertain. Asking questions. In strategic thinking, questions are much more important than answers. If you can define the question, you are already halfway to your goal. Identification of key points. Knowing about the most important factors is absolutely fundamental. This allows for more careful monitoring and redirection if necessary. All theory after https://exploringyourmind.com/strategic thinking how to give your life purpose/ Annex 4. Evaluation questionnaire. 1. What is your general impression about the activity experience? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied too. Do you think that the methodologies used were appropriate for your learning expectations? Yes, sometimes. No. 3. What is your general impression about the activities? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied. 4. Which part of the activity did you find more useful and why? 5. Which one did you find less useful and why? 6. What would you change in this training experience?
3.4. Organization and time management. Name of the activity, the bigger picture. Competencies target, main competence, organization and time management. Side competencies, problem solving, teamwork, decision making. Objectives and or learning outcome light bulb. Organization and time management allow us to maximize our productivity in the time we have available. For this purpose, the game wants to simulate a situation in which the players act in a disorganized manner and without having the final picture, i.e., the objective, in mind. When this situation occurs, in fact, it is very difficult to be productive at work because we tend to approach our tasks without logic and therefore without productivity, which leads the person to a sense of frustration and discouragement. Bullseye. For this reason, the objective of this activity is to understand how to organize the things we have to do in the time we have available, following a certain logic. First of all, we need to be aware of what our purpose is. Do we, for example, want to do 10 tasks in 8 hours? Well, let's start by having in mind what they are and how we can best organize them to complete them. Although it is impossible to affect time, What we can do is learn to manage the events of our lives in relation to time. This can be improved by developing skills that help us to be more productive, be more satisfied and less stressed, have a better balance between free time and work, be able to do more things. Trophy: at the end of this activity, participants will be able to understand the importance of organizing and managing their time to be more productive. After completing the activity, the participant will define the objectives, define tasks and priorities, assign a time to tasks. Duration: total, 2 hours, to be adapted to the context. Brainstorming: 15 minutes. Practice: improve and develop organization and time management. 1. The first phase of the game, 20 minutes. Debriefing: 15 minutes. 1. The second phase of the game, 35 minutes. Debriefing: 2, 15 minutes. Organization and time management issues, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 15-20 participants. Materials needed, BBU materials, a puzzle with a complex picture. Puzzles that have similar colors, with many details and with small pieces are more difficult to complete. B. The number of puzzles to be distributed changes according to the number of participants. Additional materials, pieces of paper and pens. Description of the scenario/simulation game: this game is meant to simulate a work environment, in which an employee works without having a clear goal during the day. This leads to frustration and low productivity because there is no organizational logic that supports what the person has to do. Thus, in the game, a group of people must complete a puzzle without knowing the final picture. Just as the employee who is not clear about what he or she has to do, so the players without understanding the objective, which in the game coincides with not knowing the image of the puzzle, may be slowed down and discouraged. This activity is structured in 4 phases, as described below. Brainstorming. Working in groups, participants should manage the work and the time to complete the puzzle. They have to create a plan to manage the time that the educator has assigned, and they have to prepare a work completion prospectus to explain the state of work every 15 minutes, e.g., 25% at 15 minutes, 50% at 30 minutes, 75% at 45 minutes and 100% at 60 minutes. They have also to decide how to share the work between the members of the group in order to be autonomous during the game. Practice, improve and develop organization and time management. 1. First phase of the game. The educator explains the game and asks the participants to monitor and note the progress of the work. The educator waits approximately 20 minutes and stops the game. Probably the participants could be discouraged because it's arduous to finish a puzzle without knowing the final picture. The groups compare the progress of their work with the percentage that they have written at the beginning of the activity. In order to reflect on this first phase, the educator will propose some debriefing questions. See questions in debriefing section. 0. Second phase of the game. The educator shows the figure of the puzzle to the participants. Normally at this point in the game, things get easier for the gamers. Knowing the final picture is easier to manage the work and finish the puzzle. By the timetable, participants can note how it changed the speed of the work compared to the first phase. When the time finishes, the puzzle should be done. At the end of this stage, the educator will propose some debriefing questions. See questions in the debriefing section, regarding the difference between the first and the second phase of the game. Organization and time management issues. The game is finished. The educator will explain the meaning of the game and the importance of managing time and tasks. See Annex I. He or she will conclude the activity by asking participants to reflect on the importance to have a clear objective in what we do. This applies both to the workspace, but also to private life. Organization and time management are essential to balance the duties and the free time and to be efficient. Cater explains the main characteristics of the organization and time management and some tips to improve the management system, e.g., divide the day in hours and decide what we have to do in the different moments of the day, listed the priorities, how much time is dedicated to each task, etc. Finally, the educator will explain that it is fundamental to manage our time and organize our tasks to have a precise idea of what is our goal. Without the objectives it is more difficult to organize ourselves. If we look at the general picture and have clear in our mind what the objectives of our work are, managing them is much easier. Instructions and/or role of the participants, brainstorming. The educator divides the participants into different groups. The educator provides each group with a box of a puzzle, without the picture of the completed puzzle. The educator explains the rules of the game. Each group has 1 hour of time to finish the puzzle without knowing the final picture. The participants have to organize their time and their roles in order to complete the puzzle. The participants are invited by the educator to use a piece of paper to write the organization of the work. They should note the completion percentage of the puzzle that they want to reach every 15 minutes, e.g., 25% at 15 minutes, 50% at 30 minutes, 75% at 45 minutes and 100% at 60 minutes. Practice, improve and develop organization and time management. 1. First phase of the game. In the first phase of the game, the participants have to put all the pieces of the puzzle in an area. The pieces can be on a table or on a floor, it depends on how the participants prefer. Participants have to complete a puzzle, without knowing the image that the finished puzzle should eventually have. Anyone who has done a puzzle knows how complicated it is to put together the pieces without knowing the drawing. Participants should respect the timing and the organization that they decided at the start of the activity. The educator lets some time pass, monitoring the reactions of the players. When the players seem too discouraged, approximately 20 minutes, the educator can pass on to the game's second stage. Second phase of the game. Now, participants can see the picture of the puzzle. Participants should note if there are variations of the time with respect to the time that they have established at the beginning. Normally in the second phase of the game participants should work faster than the first one. Looking at the picture of how the puzzle should be easy to understand the things to do, advance by joining the pieces of the frame and the various figures. Players should now complete the puzzle without too many problems. Debriefing questions. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. Describe the most complicated moments during the first phase of the game. What were the main difficulties that you encountered in this stage? Do you think that the division of time has been respected? Debriefing. 2. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. What were the main changes in the game after viewing the final figure of the puzzle? How do you think the division of tasks between the first and second phases of the game has changed? Did you notice a difference between the first stage of the game and the second? Description of the evaluation method of the activity, open questions and/or feedback questionnaire. For further information see Annex 2. Annex I, Proposed Theory. Organization skills are those related to creating structure and order, boosting productivity, and prioritizing tasks that must be completed immediately, versus those that can be postponed, delegated to another person, or eliminated altogether. Maintaining strong organizational skills can reduce the chance of developing poor work habits such as procrastination, clutter, miscommunication, and inefficiency. Doyle, 2019. Time management is the process of planning and controlling how much time to spend on specific activities. Good time management enables an individual to complete more in a shorter period of time, lowers stress, and leads to career success. CFI, 2022. Being able to manage time and organize the activities is essential to organize our days, not only at work but also in your private life. The time is limited and we have to manage it to conciliate any aspects of our life. We have a lot of duties and deadlines, so we have to understand how to define the priorities and manage the tasks in order to achieve our results. If we learn to manage our schedule, we will be more efficient and less stressed. Some people are more organized than others, but organization and time management is a skills that can be improved. Building habits helps to be more organized. Make a list of your tasks, to-do list. Having a clear idea of what needs to be done helps to avoid wasting time. Set achievable goals, so that you can reach them and be satisfied with what you have done. Be able to prioritize your tasks. First, you have to be able to concentrate on the most important assignments. Planning, calendar your tasks and appointments to keep track of your long-term commitments. Allow yourself some downtime. You need to rest during the day between tasks. Teamwork, if you work with other people, organize the different roles and tasks together. References. CFI, 2022, available online https://corporatefinanceinstitute.com/resources/careers/soft skills/time management list tips/. Doyle, 2019, Top Organizational Skills Employers Value with Examples. The Balance Careers. Available online, https://www.thebalancecareers.com/organizational skills list 20636762. Doyle, 2019, Important Time Management Skills for Workplace Success. Examples of effective workplace time management skills. The Balance Careers. Available online, https://www.thebalancecareers.com/time management skills 20636776. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. Participants are encouraged by the educator to talk about the activity in which they participated. Evaluation should be a self-evaluation in which each participant could share with the other participants their own considerations regarding the meaning of the game. Another evaluation system is based on a questionnaire where the participants should assign a score between 1 and 5, where 1 is unfulfilled and 5 is very satisfied. 1. The progress of the work was uniform with the initial plan. Choose from 1 to 5. 2. Having discovered the figure of the puzzle aided me in the work. Choose from 1 to 5. 3. The main difficulties were to ignore the picture of the puzzle. Choose from 1 to 5. 4. The division of the work between the members group is helpful. Choose from 1 to 5.
3.5. Decision making. Name of the activity, bartering building blocks. Competences target, main competence, decision making. Side competences. Problem solving. Flexibility and adaptability. Teamwork. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. The objectives of this activity are focused on developing teamwork on several levels. When building the building blocks, mindfulness and creativity are needed. On the other hand, obtaining pieces from other groups requires resourcefulness, communication, and decision-making. Duration, total, 2 hours. Icebreaker, 30 minutes. Theory introduction, 10 minutes. Practice, improve and develop decision-making, 50 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 20 minutes. Number of participants, multiples of 3, in teams of 3, 12 and more participants. Materials needed, BBU material. Puzzles of the same difficulty for every team. Alternative materials. Paper shapes of the same difficulty for every team. Description of the scenario/simulation game. Icebreaker. Before introduction, the theory and the core activity, we suggest starting with an icebreaker activity. We suggest using the diversity bingo activity. This game helps participants to get information on each other in a fun, competitive way. First, create a bingo card containing a grid of squares with a statement or question in each square. See example in Annex I, that will apply to some members of your group and is in line with the objectives of your class, workshop, or event. After each player gets a bingo card, they mingle around introducing themselves and finding other participants who can sign their cards indicating that a statement applies to him/her. To avoid having people only talk to 1 or 2 people and filling up their card, limit the signatures they can give as 1 or 2 per card. When everyone has reached bingo or is super close, they can share something they have learned about each other, themselves, and the experience of this icebreaker activity. Theory introduction. Before starting the activity, take a couple of minutes to introduce the topic of decision-making and its importance. See Annex 2 Practice, Improve and Develop Decision-Making. Each team receives a box of building blocks, with the instructions that the first team to put together their building blocks wins. They are also made aware that other teams will receive some of their pieces, and they have to negotiate with them to get these pieces back. Debriefing. See questions in the debriefing section. Evaluation. See Annex 3. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Practice. Improve and develop decision-making. Your job is to put together your building blocks as fast as possible. The other teams will have a few of your pieces, and your job is to figure out, as a team, how to obtain these pieces from other teams. You must work together, and it must be by agreement between teams. No theft or pressure is allowed. Debriefing. Debriefing questions. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. How did you agree on the exchange tactic? What was the process behind it? Was it easy for you to reach an agreement? Did you have to make compromises that you weren't too happy about? How did you evaluate the risks and profit? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Feedback collection from participants. See Annex 3. Annex I, Diversity Bingo Grid Example. Annex 2, Proposed Theory. In general, the decision-making process helps managers and other business professionals solve problems by examining alternative choices and deciding on the best route to take. Using a step-by-step approach is an efficient way to make thoughtful, informed decisions that have a positive impact on your organization's short and long-term goals. The business decision-making process is commonly divided into 7 steps. Managers may utilize many of these steps without realizing it, but gaining a clearer understanding of best practices can improve the effectiveness of your decisions. Step 1. Identify the decision. You realize that you need to make a decision. Try to clearly define the nature of the decision you must make. This first step is very important. Step 2. Gather relevant information. Collect some pertinent information before you make your decision. What information is needed, the best sources of information, and how to get it. This step involves both internal and external work. Step 3. Identify the alternatives. As you collect information, you will probably identify several possible paths of action, or alternatives. You can also use your imagination and additional information to construct new alternatives. In this step, you will list all possible and desirable alternatives. Step 4. Weigh the evidence. Draw on your information and emotions to imagine what it would be like if you carried out each of the alternatives to the end. Evaluate whether the need identified in Step 1 would be met or resolved through the use of each alternative. Step 5. Choose among alternatives. Once you have weighed all the evidence, you are ready to select the alternative that seems to be the best one for you. You may even choose a combination of alternatives. Step 6. Take action. You are now ready to take some positive action by beginning to implement the alternative you chose in Step 5. Step 7. Review your decision and its consequences. In this final step, consider the results of your decision and evaluate whether or not it has resolved the need you identified in Step 1. If the decision has not met the identified need, you may want to repeat certain steps of the process to make a new decision. Although following the steps outlined above will help you make more effective decisions, there are some pitfalls to look out for. Here are common challenges you may face, along with best practices, to help you avoid them. Having too much or not enough information. Gathering relevant information is key when approaching the decision-making process, but it is important to identify how much background information is truly required. Misidentifying the problem. In many cases, the issues surrounding your decision will be obvious. There will be times when the decision is complex, and you are not sure where the main issue lies. Conduct a thorough research and speak with internal experts who experience the problem firsthand in order to mitigate this. Overconfidence in the outcome. Even if you follow the steps of the decision-making process, there is still a chance that the outcome will not be exactly what you had in mind. That is why it is so important to identify a valid option that is plausible and achievable. Being overconfident in an unlikely outcome can lead to adverse results. Decision-making styles. Most individuals fall along a spectrum between being completely decisive or indecisive. Here are a few examples. Completely decisive, ability to make excellent decisions quickly in every situation. Analyze first and then decide style is more analytical. Some project managers insist on having all the facts before they make a decision, no matter how long data gathering takes. Analysis paralysis. People who suffer from this syndrome cannot reach a decision, even when presented with all the criteria. They are decisive only when forced by deadlines or emergencies. Annex 3, Proposed Feedback Questionnaire. Which 3 points did you learn during this session? 1. Which tool and when will you apply in practice as first and why? 2. What was the aha moments for you? 3. Did you feel like the building blocks were useful to understand the concepts and its connection to the competence development? 4. On a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is the best, how would you evaluate this activity?
3.6. Teamwork. Name of the activity: common building a house. Competences: target, main competence, teamwork. Side competences: problem-solving, leadership, strategic and innovative thinking. Duration total, 2 hours. 15 minutes. Mind map: what is teamwork? 15 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Practice, improve and develop teamwork, 30 minutes. Debriefing, 15 minutes. Presentation of theory of Belbin's team roles, 15 minutes. Confrontation, 15 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Rules of good teamwork, 15 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants: multiplication of 8 people. Groups of 8, 16, 24. Materials needed: materials for one group of 8 people. BBU materials: 1 set of building blocks. Alternative materials: stones, pasta, wooden blocks. Additional materials: 2x A4 papers, 2x pens, 2x blindfolds, 2 pairs, x thick garden gloves. Number of materials should be multiplicated according to the number of groups. Materials for the mind mapping: large piece of papers, colorful markers. Objectives and all learning outcomes after the realization of the activity. The participant will get the theoretical knowledge about the teamwork, gain self-reflection about own teamwork competencies, be able to define team's role, be able to identify which team's role the one is taking in particular situation, learn how to cooperate well with others. At the end of the learning process, the participant will know what the term teamwork means. He will be able to define the main roles in the team. He will also gain self-knowledge about own functioning in the team, what roles he is choosing. The cooperation in the team should be improved. Description of the scenario/simulation game. 1. Mind map: what teamwork is. Work in a group of 4 people. Preparing the mind map and presentation. Debriefing. 2. Practice, improve and develop teamwork. Division of participants into the group of 8 people. 2. Assigning roles for the participants in the group. It can be done by educator or participants can choose their role themselves. Roles in the group of 8. 2 people are observers, they observe the cooperation process. Adopted roles: they write down what supports and what hinders cooperation and completing the task. 2 people are blindfolded. 2 people have thick garden gloves. 2 people have no restrictions. Each team gets the same building blocks. 0. Task: build a house, 4 walls plus roof. The task is to build a house from blocks, using mutual roles and skills. 4. Debriefing. 3. Presentation of theory of Belbin's team roles, see Annex I. Confrontation. 1. Confrontation of the theory with experiences of participants during the activity and observers. Of participants. 2. Debriefing. 4. Rules of good teamwork. In the group of 4, develop at least 5 rules of good teamwork. Presentation of works. Evaluation. Alternative version of main task. Groups of 8 people. Each group lists 3 items, e.g., shoes, laptop, skyscraper, etc. The educator writes them down on a blackboard, piece of paper. There are 2 observers as in the basic version. Observers observe the cooperation process, adopted roles, differences in the individual 3 phases of the exercise. Task 1. Build the first listed item together. 2. Build the second listed item together according to the rules in the basic version. 3. Build the third item together. You can't talk in this version. Instructions and/or role of the participants. I mind map what teamwork is. Create groups of 4 and take the chosen place. Each team receives a large sheet of paper and colored markers. In groups, prepare a mind map. The topic is teamwork. Presentation of the group's work on the forum. Debriefing questions. 2. Practice, improve and develop teamwork. The educator can divide the participants in the group of 8 people. One of methods of random selection can be adopted, e.g., counting, color drawing, according to the month of birth, etc. It should be paid special attention to mixed in one group of different participants. Assigning roles for the participants in the group. It can be done by educator or participants can choose their role themselves. There are 8 people in the group, and everyone has their own role. 2 people are observers, they observe the cooperation process, adopted roles, they write down what supports and what hinders cooperation and completing the task. 2 people are blindfolded. 2 people have thick garden gloves. 2 people have no restrictions. Each team has the needed materials on the table so they could easily take the appropriate materials for their roles. Each team gets the same set of building blocks. The educator gave the group the main task. Your task in the group is to build a house with 4 walls plus roof. It is important that houses need to be stable. The task is to build a house from blocks, using mutual roles and skills. Only cooperation, mutual assistance and a good strategy will allow you to be successful. During the activity you cannot change your roles. Observers can only make notes. It's not allowed for them to make any suggestions for the working team. You have 30 minutes to do the task. After 30 minutes each group presents their work. The observers can share their comments and notices. Debriefing questions. 2. 3. Presentation of theory of Belbin's team roles. Sharing the paper or presentation with description of team roles according to Belbin's theory. Participants need to know the roles defined in the theory, the main concept of every role, also advantages and disadvantages. Confrontation of the theory with experiences of participants during the activity and observers' notes. Time for reflection and discussion in group of 8, the same as in previous part of activity. Presentation of conclusions by a representative person from the group. Debriefing questions. 3. 4. Rules of good teamwork. In the group of 4 develop 5 rules of good teamwork. Presentation of works. Discussion, are the rules easy to implement in the future work? Debriefing questions. I mind maps. Debriefing. What was easy and difficult for you in this task? What surprised you about the idea of other groups? How was the teamwork in your groups of 4? 2. Practices. Debriefing. How was the work in your team? Are you satisfied with your results? Why yes/no? What could be changed in your teamwork? What were the strengths and weaknesses in your teamwork? How could it be improved? What roles have you taken? 3. Bilibin's team roles. Debriefing. How to use the potential of everyone in teamwork. If the potential of every person in the group was used during the practice. Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Feedback collected from participant. How have I felt during this activity? What I have learnt about teamwork. What I have learnt about myself. What could be improved or changed? Or 2. Evaluation questionnaire, Annex 2. Annex I, Proposed Theory. Belbin Team's Roles. The 9 Belbin team roles enable managers and team leaders to build successful teams that capitalize on the strengths of individual team members. A team with the right blend of team roles has more chance of achieving its objectives than an unbalanced team with similar personalities. Teams can become unbalanced if all team members assume similar roles within the team. If team members share the same kind of weaknesses, those weaknesses tend to be magnified and reflected in the team as a whole. Likewise, if team members have the same strengths, they may instinctively compete for the tasks and responsibilities that suit their personality styles. The Belbin team roles consist of 1. Shaper, SH. 2. Implementer, IMP. 3. Complete Finisher, CF. 4. Coordinator, CO. 5. Team Worker, TW. 6. Resource Investigator, RE. 7. Plant, PL. 8. Monitor Evaluator, ME. 9. Specialist, SP. Action-Oriented Roles, SH, IMP, CF. People-Oriented Roles, CO, TW, RE. Thought-Oriented Roles, PL, ME, SP. Action-Oriented Roles. Shaper, SH. Shapers are people who drive the team forward, ensuring that they meet deadlines or achieve objectives. Shapers are dynamic and competitive people who seek to challenge their teammates and look for different ways to overcome obstacles. Extroverted and passionate, the shaper's pioneering and courageous attitude ensures the team keeps moving and does not lose focus or momentum. Strengths: dynamic, driven, courageous, competitive, and thrive under pressure. They have the drive and courage to meet challenges head-on. Allowable weaknesses: can be susceptible to provocation and have trouble working with less ambitious people. May sometimes offend people and hurt their feelings. Implementer, IMP. Implementers are people who get things done. Of the 9 Belbin team roles, implementers are the ones most likely to turn ideas and concepts into practical actions. Conservative by nature, implementers are disciplined and task-oriented people who excel in creating and implementing business strategies. Strengths: practical and dependable. Implementers turn ideas into actions and organize the workload to ensure that the team completes tasks quickly and efficiently. Allowable weaknesses: often stubborn and averse to adopting new ideas and working practices. Complete Finisher, CF. Completer finishers are people who ensure that the team completes projects to the highest standards. Conscientious and with an eye for detail, complete finishers pay attention to the smallest details in their quest for perfection. Of all the types of team roles, complete finishers are the most concerned with meeting deadlines. Colleagues often describe complete finishers as perfectionists who are orderly and conscientious but are also hesitant to delegate. Strengths: perfectionists who are orderly, conscientious, and observant. Complete finishers work to an exceptional standard and expect their teammates to do the same. Allowable weaknesses: inclined to worry unduly. Reluctant to delegate. People-oriented roles. Coordinator, CO. Coordinators assume the traditional team leader role and focus on the team's objectives. Coordinators take it upon themselves to guide and manage the team. They delegate where necessary and encourage people to contribute to the team. People who assume the coordinator role take an interest in their colleagues and can recognize the value that each person brings to the table. They are calm, confident, and good-natured, and they know how to help people achieve their full potential. Strengths: calm, tolerant and natural leaders. Coordinators have a positive attitude towards work and are always looking for ways to get the most out of their teammates. Allowable weaknesses: coordinators may delegate too much personal responsibility, and their colleagues may view them as being manipulative. Team Worker, TW. Team workers are helpful, accommodating, and keen to ensure that people within the team work well together. It is also the most diplomatic and sensitive of the 9 BuildIT team roles. They often assume the role of negotiators within a team. Team workers try to avoid conflict and prioritize team cohesion over their own performance. Their caring and understanding nature means that team works are often popular with other members of the team. Strengths: diplomatic, empathetic, cooperative, and perceptive. Good listeners who aim to avert friction and conflict within a team. Allowable weaknesses: have a tendency to be indecisive in pressure situations. Avoids confrontation. Often maintains neutral positions during discussions and decision-making. Resource investigator: resource investigators are innovative and curious by nature. They are always looking for different ways in which to work. People who fill the resource investigator role seek to explore different options, nurture relationships, and negotiate on behalf of the team. They are enthusiastic and outgoing people who are happy to work with external stakeholders. Resource investigators are adventurous and extroverted people, which often leads people to be receptive to them and their ideas. Strengths: outgoing and enthusiastic. Keen to explore different ways of working. Proficient at building and developing contacts. Allowable weaknesses: resource investigators can lose interest quickly and are often over-optimistic. Thought-oriented roles. Plant, PL. The plant is the creative innovator of the 9 BuildIT team roles. Come up with different ideas and approaches and are proficient at solving problems in unconventional ways. When given the time to think about solving difficult problems, plants will often discover surprising and innovative ways to overcome obstacles. Because their ideas are often so unconventional, plants can be impractical. They are also poor communicators and prefer to work apart from the team. Strengths: creative, imaginative, free-thinking people able to solve complex and challenging problems. Allowable weaknesses: plants find it difficult to handle criticism. They are introverted, impractical and often preoccupied with their own tasks to communicate effectively. Plants can be also difficult people to work with. Monitor evaluator, me. Monitor evaluators bring a strategic aspect to the team and are at their best when testing ideas that other people come up with. They have the ability to make impartial judgments and can weigh up the pros and cons of a decision in a practical manner. Monitor evaluators think critically about themselves and those around them. People often view monitor evaluators as being detached or unemotional. Monitor evaluators are usually poor motivators and tend to react to events rather than instigating them. Strengths: strategic and analytical. Monitor evaluators have a logical eye and are well equipped to make unbiased decisions. Allowable weaknesses: maintain intellectual reasoning for too long and can be overly critical, impassive, and distant. Specialist, SP. Specialists bring to the team a high level of expertise in a particular field. They pride themselves on their skills, knowledge and abilities, and they strive to maintain their professional status. Specialists are the experts in the team, and their job is often to provide technical support to teammates and clients. Strengths: an immeasurable source of knowledge in their field. Dedicated and highly professional, specialists are the experts of the 9 BuildIT team roles. Allowable weaknesses: dwell on the technicalities. Specialists often limit their contributions to their area of expertise, and they often lack the social interaction skills of many of their colleagues. In a smaller team where not all of BuildIT's team roles can be fulfilled, think carefully about which roles should be prioritized over others. BuildIT's team roles provide a useful model for maximizing the performance of teams. Considering the strengths and weaknesses of each individual, educators can organize their teams in a way that utilizes everyone's talents and fosters productive, creative collaboration. But, there are some limitations to this model. Outlined by BuildIT are mainly concerned with collaborative work, and don't necessarily describe how individuals perform on independent projects, nor do they reflect an individual's personality outside the context of a team or in any other team. After, https://www.tsw.co. UK/blog/leadership and management/Belbin's team roles/. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. What is your general impression about the activity experience? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied. 2. Do you think that the methodologies used were appropriate for your learning expectations? Yes, sometimes, no. 3. What is your general impression about the activities? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied. 4. Which part of the activity did you find more useful and why? 5. Which one did you find less useful and why? 6. What would you change in this training experience?
3.7 Empathy and ability to build relationships. Name of the activity: the Empathy Tower and the Relationships Bridge. Competencies target: main competence, empathy and ability to build relationships. Side competences: teamwork, flexibility and adaptability, negotiation skills. Duration: total, minimum 2 hours. Define the concept of empathy: 30 minutes. Debriefing: 15 minutes. Practice: improve and develop empathy: 30 minutes. Debriefing: 15 minutes. Benefits of empathy at work: 10 minutes. Tips for being more empathetic in a professional setting: 5 minutes. Evaluation: 15 minutes. Number of participants: approximately 20 participants. Materials needed: BBU materials, building blocks. Additional materials: labels, pens. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. The objective of this activity is for the participants to get familiarized with the importance of empathy and building relationships, not only in their personal life, but also in the professional life, as well as understanding and developing the main pillars of empathy: listening, understanding, verbal expression. At the end of this activity, the participants should be able to understand the importance of empathy and building relationships in the labor market, to identify which pillar of empathy needs to work on more in order to develop this competence. Description of the activity. This activity is composed of 4 main phases. Each phase contains a part of theory and one of practice. Define the concept of empathy. Each participant will be asked to create their own tower of empathy, in which they have to write 1 keyword on each building block, 10 pieces. In groups of 5, the number can vary, according to the total number of participants. They need to share the words from their tower and then create a common tower of 10 keywords related to empathy, after debating and reaching an agreement upon the 10 keywords most important for all of them. The same dynamic will be repeated in groups of 10 participants, and finally the whole group will have to create their common tower of 10 building blocks and keywords defining empathy. The participants will present the final common tower and the educator will present to them some definitions of empathy, see Annex I, Proposed Theory I, and will raise some debriefing questions, see questions in the debriefing section, regarding the process of agreeing upon the common words. Practice: improve and develop empathy. The educator will conclude the debriefing of the first part of the activity, by explaining the pillars of empathy: listening, understanding, verbally expressing, see Annex I, Proposed Theory 2, and introduce the following exercise/working scenario. They need to work on the construction of 2 identical bridges made out of building blocks. The 2 bridges have to be identical in terms of number of building blocks, position, and colors. They need to use 3 colors in the construction of the bridge. Each color represents one of the pillars of empathy: listening, understanding, verbal expression, in order to provide a visual representation of these abstract concepts. However, they will have special working conditions in which none of the couple will be able to see the other's bridge while building it, as they will sit back to back. Therefore they will need to practice active listening, deep understanding, and clear verbal expression. Each couple will present their bridges and the educator will raise some debriefing questions, see questions in the debriefing section, regarding the building and communication process in the couples. Benefits of empathy at work. The educator will conclude the second debriefing by presenting some benefits of empathy at the workplace and providing some tips to the participants on how to become more empathetic. This explanation will be also done using the building blocks, creating a pyramid. The pyramid represents the visual representation of a workplace, and each building block represents a benefit of empathy at the workplace. While explaining each benefit of the empathy at the workplace, see Annex I, Proposed Theory 3, the educator will add a building block to the pyramid. Tips for being more empathetic in a professional setting. When the pyramid will be finished, the educator will explain that the base of the pyramid is represented by each of the members of a team, and it is important to continuously develop our empathy for our personal and professional development, as well as for a healthy workplace environment. The educator will therefore provide keys to becoming empathetic. See Annex I, Proposed Theory 4. Evaluation. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Define the concept of empathy. Each of you need to create your own tower of empathy, in which you need to write one key word on each building block, 5 pieces. Do the same thing, but in groups of 5, share the words from each of your towers and then create a common tower of 5 key words related to empathy. Repeat the task in groups of 10. Create a common tower of the entire group. Present the final common tower. Debriefing. I. Practice, improve and develop empathy. In couples, you need to work on the construction of 2 identical bridges made out of building blocks. The 2 bridges have to be identical in terms of number of building blocks, position, and colors. Use 3 colors in the construction of the bridge, as each color represents one of the pillars of empathy: listening, understanding, verbal expression, and you will build the bridge of empathy. However, you have special working conditions in which none of you will be able to see the other's bridge while building it, as you will sit back to back, therefore you will only be able to talk to each other. Each couple will present their bridges. Debriefing. 2. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. I. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. Was it difficult for you to decide upon the 5 keywords most important for you regarding empathy? How was the process of debating and agreeing on common words? Were the words rather similar among all of you or totally different? Did you reach a compromise easily in all the phases, small groups, medium-sized groups, big groups? Debriefing. 2. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. What do you think about the final results obtained? How was the communication with your partner? Did you feel listened to? Did you listen? Did you plan together with your partner before starting building? Why do you think empathy and building relationships are important at the workplace? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Open questions and/or feedback questionnaire, see Annex 2. Annex I, Proposed Theory. Proposed Theory, I. Here are some examples of empathy definitions. Sensing others' feelings and perspectives and taking an active interest in their concerns. The ability to put yourself in another's place and to take that perspective into account in your relationship with the other person. The Institute for Social and Emotional Intelligence. The capacity to know emotionally what another is experiencing from within the frame of reference of that other person. The capacity to empathize means to share, to experience the feelings of another person. R. Greenson. To sample the feelings of another or to put oneself in another's shoes. D. M. Berger. Proposed Theory. 2. The main pillars of empathy and building relationships are listening for another's emotional state and having sensitivity for the other person's feelings, is arguably the first step. Understanding what that person might be feeling or experiencing at this moment, both cognitively and emotionally. Verbally expressing, communicating, and acknowledging our perception of the internal frame of reference of another and our sense of similarity of feelings. Proposed Theory. 3. Benefits of practicing empathy at work. Optimal time and attitude to understand the needs of collaborators or colleagues. This way you can provide them with the support they need to move forward, to meet challenges or to solve difficulties. Have the right attitude when reaching agreements, to resolve conflicts. Listening, understanding all parties, and taking into account the point of view of all those involved makes it much easier to reach a common agreement, rather than giving an order unilaterally. Understanding and providing colleagues and collaborators with what they need to move forward creates a sense of trust and strengthens relationships, leading to greater collaboration and improved productivity. Feeling understood, listened to, and respected for our way of thinking helps to be more open when expressing our emotions. So, we can relate more honestly and feel valued for who we are without fear of being judged. Thanks to the mirror neurons being empathetic, we will infect others to be, creating an environment of connection that will make the working environment much more pleasant and enriching. Proposed theory 4. Tips for being more empathetic in a professional setting. Viewing a situation in terms of how others feel, from a different perspective, but without getting so emotionally invested. Being objective. Balancing empathy in such a way that organizational results are met without burdening well-being. Establishing rapport with colleagues. Showing reasonable concern and support for colleagues in every way possible to help them perform and grow. Practicing active listening without interrupting and reflective listening by paraphrasing. Avoiding quick judgment. Using appropriate nonverbal cues. Validating the other people's perspective. This does not mean agreement, but simply that you understand where they are coming from. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. What was the best thing in this activity that helped you understand the concepts better? 2. What was the most difficult thing to understand? 3. What was the most important thing that you learned? 4. Do you think this activity was helpful to become more empathic and to build easier relationships at work? 5. Why do you think it is important to be empathic and to build relationships in your professional life?
3.8. Problem solving. Name of the activity, how to solve it. Competencies: target, main competence, problem solving. Side competencies: decision making, collecting and processing information, teamwork. Duration, total, 2 hours in total. 1. Choice of problem situation, 10 minutes. 2. How is it? 30 minutes. 3. Why is it not what it should be? 10 minutes. 4. What should it be? 30 minutes. 5. Stages of problem solving, 20 minutes. 6. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 20 participants. Materials needed, BBU materials, 5 sets of building blocks, sheets of paper. Alternative materials, 5 sets of wooden blocks/stones/pasta. Number of sets depends on the size of the group. The 5 sets are proposed for a group of 20 participants, work in 5 groups of 4 participants each. In alternative way of implementing the activity, post-it notes. Objectives and all learning outcomes. After completing the activity, the participants will know the stages of problem solving. Develop own skill of problem solving. Improve teamwork and cooperation. At the end of the learning process, the participant will know what problem solving is and will know the stages of problem solving. He will be able to define, analyze and solve identified problems. The participant will also better work in a team. Description of the scenario/simulation game. The activity consists of several stages which should be implemented in the groups of 4 people. 1. Choice of problem situation. Discussion. Participants share problematic situations that they have and select one of the problematic situations that they will work on during the activity. Example of problematic situations. Division of the task in the team of the colleagues at work, or students during project activity, e.g., some of them have more tasks. What can be presented by the construction of bigger amount of building blocks. Discussion between husband and wife about where to go on holiday, mountains or the sea. From the building blocks, the arguments representing each option can be built. 2. How is it? Presenting a problem situation with a scene built of building blocks and stopped in the present time. All groups have the same set of building blocks. Presentation. Discussion of the situation. 3. Why is it not what it should be? Analysis of the current situation. 4. What should it be? Changing the present situation into the future one, how the problem situation could be solved, ideal situation. Changing the scene with building blocks of problem situations, from point 2. Exchange of boards with scenes of building blocks between groups. Continuation of work in the same group, depends on the problem's situation. Presentation of the solution to the problem. 5. Stages of problem solving. Participants in the same groups of 4 people try to define the stages of problem solving on the basis of carried out activity. Confrontation of groups. Stages of problem solving. Sharing the theory of 6 steps of problem solving with participants, see Annex I. 6. Debriefing. During the whole process it is recommended to use sheets of paper to construct conceptual maps, in order to make the process of ideas concerning the development of a problem and its solution more schematic and visible. 7. Evaluation. Alternative way of implementing the activity, adopt the post-it notes solution. This activity is based on the identification of a problem and its causes, so there is also useful input of writing in each post-it a cause leading to the problem and building with them 2 towers, problems and solutions, as if they were the bricks of the 2 buildings. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Division of participants in the groups of 4. One of methods of random selection can be adopted, e.g., counting, color drawing, according to the month of birth, etc. It should be paid special attention to mixed in one group of different participants. 1. Choice of problem situation. Participants are working in the groups of 4 people. Please think about different problematic situations you have to deal with at present time. It might be some bigger issue or small one. It depends on you. Discussion. Share in your group's problematic situation that you have. Select together one of the problematic situations that you would like to work with during the activity. Remember that all 4 team members will be working on this situation, not only the idea giver. 2. How is it? Presenting a problem situation with a scene built of building blocks and stopped in the present time. You have a set of building blocks. Use these to present the actual problem situation you have chosen in the previous phase of this activity. Present the buildings your group have created, described the problematic situation. 3. Why is it not what it should be? Analysis of the current situation. Try to list in the groups of 4 what are the reasons, roots of the actual situation. 4. What should it be? Changing the presented situation into the future one, how the problem situation could be solved, ideal situation. Changing the scene with building blocks of problem situations, from point 2. Exchange of boards with scenes of building blocks between groups. Or continuation of work in the same group, depends on the problem's situation. Think about the possible solutions to the problem situation and choose the best one. Change the scene built in the previous part of the activity into the new one, how it could look like with the problem solved. Present the best, ideal situation. Discuss in the groups the ideas what need to be done to change the situation and achieve the best solutions. Present the solution to the problem to the other groups. 5. Stages of problem solving. Participants in the same groups of 4 people try to define the stages of problem solving on the basis of carried out activity. Discuss and define the main stages of problem solving. Present the stages of problem solving on the forum. Educator shares the theory of 6 steps of problem solving with participants, see Annex I. 6. Debriefing. 7. Evaluation. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. What was easy and difficult for you in this task? Are you satisfied with your results? Why yes/no? Have you changed the perspective on problem solving? Or on the particulars problems you need to deal with? What surprised you in the ideas of other groups? What depends on me? What doesn't depend on me? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Feedback collected from participant. How have I felt during this activity? What I have learnt about problem solving. What I have learnt about myself. What could be improved or changed? Or 2. Evaluation questionnaire, see Annex II. Annex I, Proposed Theory. The 6 steps of problem solving. 1. Define the problem. Step 1 is about diagnosing the problem, the context, background, and symptoms of the issue. Once the group has a clear grasp of what the problem is, they investigate the wider symptoms to discover the implications of the problem, who it affects, and how urgent/important it is to resolve the symptoms. 2. Determine the root causes of the problem. Once all the symptoms are found and the problem diagnosed and an initial definition agreed, the group begins to explore what has caused the problem. At this stage, the group may return to step 1 to revise the definition of the problem. 3. Develop alternative solutions. Analytical, creative problem solving is about creating a variety of solutions, not just one. Often the most obvious answer is not the most effective solution to the problem. The group focuses on A. Finding as many solutions to the problem, no matter how outlandish they may seem. B. Looking at how each solution relates to the root cause and symptoms of the problem. C. Deciding if different solutions can be merged to give a better answer to the problem. Stage it is not about finding one solution but eliminating the options that will prove less effective at dealing with both the symptoms and the root cause. 4. Select a solution. In the fourth step, groups evaluate all the selected potential solutions, and narrow it down to one. This step applies to key questions. 1. Which solution is most feasible? 2. Which solution is favored by those who will implement and use it? Feasibility is ascertained by deciding if a solution can be implemented within an acceptable time frame, is cost-effective, reliable, and realistic. Will resource usage be more effective? Can adapt to conditions as they evolve and change? Its risks are manageable? Will benefit the organization / Which solution is favored? Acceptance by the people who will use and implement the solution is key to success. 5. Implement the solution. Once the solution has been chosen, initial project planning begins and establishes the project manager, if needed. Who else needs to be involved to implement the solution? When the project will start? The key milestones. What actions need to be taken before implementing the solution? What actions need to be taken during the implementing the solution? Why are these actions necessary? 6. Evaluate the result. The project implementation now needs to be monitored by the group to ensure their recommendations are followed. All theory after. http://www.freemanagementebooks.com/news/6-step problem solving model/ Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. What is your general impression about the activity experience? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied. 2. Do you think that the methodologies used were appropriate for your learning expectations? Yes, sometimes, no. 3. What is your general impression about the activities? 1 equals not satisfied at all, 5 equals very satisfied. 4. Which part of the activity did you find more useful and why? 5. Which one did you find less useful and why? 6. What would you change in this training experience?
3.9. Learning orientation. Name of the activity, quick glance. Competencies target, main competence, learning orientation. Side competencies, time management, strategical and innovative thinking. Objectives and/or learning outcome. This game is aimed at testing and developing the memory of the participants, but also their ability to communicate, work under pressure, come up with a strategy, present your point of view directly, and discover new ways to learn. Duration, total, 2 hours. Icebreaker, 30 minutes. Theory introduction, 10 minutes. Practice, improve and develop the learning orientation, 50 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 20 minutes. Number of participants, minimum 6 participants. Materials needed, BBU material. A sufficient amount of Lego. Building blocks. Alternative material. Classical wooden colored cubes. Description of the scenario/simulation game. Icebreaker. Before introduction, the theory and the core activity, we suggest to start with an icebreaker activity. We suggest using the Picture Me activity, which is a light-hearted way of introducing participants. Print out some pictures showing different feelings, not necessary of people or animals or other images that may inspire feelings. See Annex I. 1. Show participants for 5 minutes 21 pictures, from which they can choose one. 2. Give them then 10 minutes to think why they chose that picture and how it is connected to their personality. 3. Provide a group discussion, ideally let all participants speak about it. Theory introduction. Before starting the activity, take a couple of minutes to introduce the topic of learning orientation and its importance. See Annex 2. Practical. Improve and develop the learning orientation. Divide the participants into groups. Build a small structure out of the building blocks, hide it under a sheet or a piece of fabric and give each group enough building blocks, and then some extra, for them to be able to replicate it. Make sure that all teams are the same distance from the demonstration structure. Make the game around 4 or 5 rounds long. With each round, make the next structure more complicated. Also, each of the next rounds give the team that won the last game an extra 5 seconds head start, as a reward for winning, and as an incentive for the other teams to do well. Head starts don't add up, only one team a 5 seconds start each game. Debriefing. See questions in the debriefing section. Evaluation. See Annex 3. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Practice. Improve and develop the learning orientation. At the beginning, you will be shown a structure for 30 seconds. The structure will then be covered, so you can't see it. 30 seconds. One member of each team can come to the demonstration building and look at it for 10 seconds. Then no one can look at it again for another 30 seconds, while those who looked can share their findings with their team. Next, once again, one member of each team can come forward and watch the construction for another 10 seconds. But it must be a different player than the last one. This cycle continues until one of the teams manages to build an exact copy of the demonstration structure. Debriefing. Debriefing questions. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. What method of remembering the structure during your turn did you use? Was it easy or hard to communicate with other participants? How could you make the exchange of information better? Would there have been another way to pass on the look of the structure to your teammates? What impact did you have on the team? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Feedback collection from participants. See Annex 3. Annex I. Picture Me icebreaker, proposed pictures. Annex 2, proposed theory. Research on motivational goals in an achievement context has identified 2 different types of underlying goals. One is learning goals, in which people are concerned with increasing their competence. Under learning orientation, the aim is to increase competence by learning or mastering a new task. Under performance orientation, people are concerned with gaining favorable judgments of their competence and to avoid unfavorable ones. Performance-oriented students may not exert effort to change their study habits if they receive negative feedback because they may tend to attribute failure to the lack of their own ability. In contrast, learning-oriented students may exert effort to improve their study habits even when they encounter negative outcomes, and the failure is attributed to their own fault. Learning-oriented people are less likely to stop learning when they obtain either satisfactory or unsatisfactory outcomes. Their actions are less influenced by the outcome of the previous actions. Perhaps the primary concern of learning-oriented people may be the learning process itself. They are more interested in the process of improving themselves than in the immediate outcomes of a certain action. In contrast, performance-oriented people are likely to behave according to immediate outcomes. If they perform poorly, they will exhibit a pattern of helpless behaviors. If they perform well, they will show mastery-oriented. That is, the outcome appears to be the primary concern for performance-oriented people. The learning orientation focuses on the tendency or habit of seeking to increase one's knowledge and skills, toward valuing the learning process as a means to accomplish mastery over a task, toward being interested in challenging activities, and toward using information seeking as a personal strategy when problem solving. Source: ResearchGate. Net. Insight Assessment. Com. Annex 3, Proposed feedback questionnaire. 1. Which 3 points did you learn during this session? 2. Which tool and when will you apply to practice as first and why? 3. What was the aha moments for you? 4. Did you feel like the building blocks were useful to understand the concepts and its connection to the competence development? 5. On scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is the best, how would you evaluate this activity?
3.10. Negotiation skills. Name of the activity: the Power Tower of Negotiation. Competences: target, main competence, negotiation skills. Side competences: teamwork, decision-making, leadership, flexibility and adaptability. Duration: total, approximately 2 hours. Define the concept of negotiation skills: 30 minutes. Debriefing: 10 minutes. What type of negotiator are you? 20 minutes. Practice, improve and develop negotiation skills: 30 minutes. Debriefing: 10 minutes. Tips to improve your negotiation skills: 10 minutes. Evaluation: 10 minutes. Number of participants: approximately 20 participants. Materials needed: BBU materials, customizable puzzles and building blocks. Alternative materials: customizable paper puzzles, wooden blocks. Additional materials: paper sheets, pens, flip chart, markers. Objectives and all learning outcomes. The objective of this activity is for the participants to get familiarized with the importance of the negotiation skills in their personal and professional life, as well as identifying the type of negotiator they are, practice and develop their negotiation skills. At the end of this activity, the participants should be able to understand what negotiation skills are and their importance in the labor market, identify types of negotiators, practice negotiation skills in a job interview and in a team working environment. Description of the scenario/simulation game. This activity is composed of several phases, containing visual and hands-on explanations, practical and theoretical parts. Define negotiation skills. All the participants will receive a piece of a big puzzle that they need to create as a group. The puzzle, after they assemble, will reveal the definition of the negotiating skills. See Annex I. Proposed Theory I. However, only 5 participants are allowed to assemble it, using all the pieces of the puzzle. Before starting to assemble the puzzle, the participants need to negotiate who will assemble the puzzle, and those people need to get all the pieces of the puzzle from the rest of the participants. The participants will present the assembled puzzle and the definition revealed, and the educator, see Annex I, Proposed Theory I, and will raise some debriefing questions, see questions in debriefing section, regarding the working process. What type of negotiator are you? The educator will ask the participants to write down on a piece of paper a short description about their attitude in the previous exercise, in terms of negotiating. When all the participants finished, the educator introduces the types of negotiator, see Annex I, Proposed Theory II, and the participants will need to identify their type, comparing their short description with the characteristics of each negotiator type, and develop negotiation skills. The educator will introduce the following exercise/working scenario. The participants will be divided into groups of 4 and 6. The number can vary according to the total number of participants. The group of 4 participants will get 10 more building blocks than the group of 6. However, none of the groups know the amount of building blocks the other groups have. The participants will have to start the activity with a round of negotiations in which the teams of 4 will need to trade materials in exchange for a person from the groups of 6, in such a way that each team will start building only when they have exactly 5 members. Explain that the objective of the exercise is to build the highest tower. The tower should stand still on its own, not to be held by the participants. When the time is over, the educator will measure each team's tower and decide which team is the winner. The educator will propose some debriefing questions, see questions in debriefing section. Tips to improve your negotiation skills. After each participant discovers what type of negotiator is and gets to practice the negotiation skills in the proposed exercise, the educator will provide the participants with tips. Do your research. Know your value. Don't get discouraged if the offer is lower than you expect. Be grateful, not entitled, on how to improve their negotiation skills during a job interview. The educator will draw on a flip chart a puzzle made out of 4 pieces. In each piece of the puzzle a tip will be written with a marker, in order to guarantee a visual representation of each concept. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Define the concept of negotiation skills. All of you will receive a piece, or more, of a big puzzle that you need to create as a group. However, only 5 of you are allowed to assemble it, using all the pieces of the puzzle. Before starting to assemble the puzzle, you need to negotiate who will assemble the puzzle, and those people need to get all the pieces of the puzzle from the rest of you. When the puzzle is done, you need to present the phrase that it reveals. Debriefing. What type of negotiator are you? You will have to write down on a piece of paper a short description about your attitude in the previous exercise, in terms of negotiating. For example, I wanted to be the one to assemble, so I went to the others to convince them to give me their piece. Or I did not care who would assemble, so I offered my piece of the puzzle to the first one who came. Now, that all of you finished, I introduced to you the types of negotiator, see Annex I, Proposed Theory 2, and you have to identify your type comparing your short description with the characteristic of each negotiator type. You have to share with the group the identified negotiator type. Practice, improve and develop negotiation skills. The objective of the exercise is to create the highest tower which can stand by itself. None of you can support the tower after the building is completed. You will be divided into groups of 4 and 6 people, but you can start building only when each team has exactly 5 members. You will start the activity with a round of negotiations in which the teams of 4 will need to trade materials in exchange for a person from the groups of 6, in such a way that each team will start building only when they have 5 members. Starting from now, you have 20 minutes to negotiate for more materials or members of the team and build the highest tower. Now that the time is over, I will measure the highest tower in order to decide the winning team. Debriefing. 2. Tips to improve your negotiation skills during a job interview. Negotiating the details of a job offer is part of the process of getting hired. One important thing to remember is that employers are not always open for salary negotiation during the job interview, but that doesn't mean that you can't work with an employer to make sure you get a combination of salary and benefits that will work for you. In order to make the process as easy and effective as possible, here are some tips to remember as you negotiate. Do your research. Know your value. Don't get discouraged if the offer is lower than you expect. Be grateful, not entitled. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. Was it difficult to reach an agreement about who will be assembling the puzzle? Was the atmosphere rather competitive or collaborative? Did you notice somebody taking initiative in starting the negotiations, proposing ideas, and acting as a leader? Debriefing. 2. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants and their learning process. Was your attitude different than in the first part of the activity? After identifying the type of negotiator are you? Which group did best in your opinion and why? What strategy did you use in order to win? Were you happy with the performance of your group? Did you nominate a leader in your team? How hard was it to get something from the other teams? Did you cooperate with them easily? Was the atmosphere too competitive? Did you divide tasks so everyone could work in parallel? If you had a chance to go through this exercise again, what would you do differently? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. Open questions and/or feedback questionnaire, see Annex 2. Annex I, Proposed Theory. Proposed Theory. Definition of the negotiation skills. Negotiation skills are qualities that allow 2 or more parties to reach a compromise. These are often soft skills and include abilities such as communication, persuasion, planning, strategizing, and cooperating. Understanding these skills is the first step to becoming a stronger negotiator. Proposed theory: 2 types of negotiator. The avoider. An avoiding negotiation style follows a I lose, you lose model. Prefers not to get involved in the dispute at all. Dislikes stress. Avoids situations with winners and losers. Can be, surprisingly, very difficult to negotiate against. The accommodator. An accommodating negotiation style follows the I lose, you win model, which does not seem to be in a negotiator's best interest. Resolves conflict by solving the other party's problem. If the counterpart is similar, he shares the wealth. If the counterpart is not similar, the accommodator may end up with nothing. The competitor. A competitive negotiation style follows the model of I win, you lose. First instinct is to see zero-sum allocations, your winning is someone else's lost and the other way around. Likes to win. May even lie if it's needed to win. The compromiser. A compromising negotiation style follows the I win/lose some, you win/lose some model. Favors deals that give something to each party. Interested in maintaining relationships. Tends to split the difference. The collaborator. A collaborative negotiation style follows the I win, you win model. Tries to find a way for both parties to get the best outcome. Willing to be creative and brainstorm. May not be successful against a strong competitor. Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. What was the best thing in this activity that helped you understand better the concepts? 2. What was the most difficult thing to understand? 3. What was the most important thing you learned? 4. Do you think this activity was helpful to understand, practice and develop your negotiation skills? 5. Why do you think negotiation skills are important for your professional life?
3.11. Leadership. Name of the activity: shapes in space. Competencies target: main competence, leadership. Side competencies: problem solving, teamwork, learning orientation, empathy and decision making. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. Being a leader means having the ability to lead others and to be followed by them. For this reason, the game wants to simulate a comparable situation in which there is one person who leads and another who is led. The leader or the person leading should be able to guide the other person to solve the task. This capacity implies a number of skills specific to this role. Similarly, the person being led should have confidence in the role of the leader and should do what the leader suggests. Toolbox. To explain this concept, the game proposes a work situation scenario, in which there are two workers involved, the leader and who is guided. The leader, as a boss does, assigns a task to an employee without sharing with him all the information about the whole work. To achieve the goal, the leader needs to be able to communicate calmly and clearly and encourage the other employee to finish the task. Video game. In the same way, the game involved two players with a similar dynamic: Player 1, who represents the leader, and Player 2, who represents the employee, does the task follow the leader's instructions. The same division will be valid for all the teams, 2 people, involved in the game. Bullseye. The objective of this situation is to understand what a leader should be, the skills and competencies that someone in this role should have, as an innate ability or as something to be learned. The figure of the leader is not always seen in a positive way. That is why people in this role should know how to act with others to help build a better working environment, also because the role of the leader is essential to achieve specific objectives. Trophy. At the end of this activity, the participants should have a clear idea of why the figure of the leader is so important in the world of work, as well as in many areas of society. After completing the activity, the participant will understand what the leadership is. Understand what the main qualities are of the leader. Understand the importance of the leadership in a team. Duration, total, 2 hours minimum, to be adapted to the context. Define the concept of leadership, 30 minutes. Debriefing, 15 minutes. Practice, improve and develop leadership. 1. First round, 15 minutes. Debriefing: 10 minutes. 2. Second round, 15 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Qualities of a good leader, 15 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, multiplication of 2, the team consists of 2 people. Around 20 participants. Materials needed. BBU materials. Blocks of various shapes. More the building blocks are colorful and of different sizes, the more the game will be difficult. The materials could be adapted by the educators according to their needs. They may decide to use other materials similar to the shapes, recycled things, cut out shapes, etc. Additional materials: pieces of paper and pens. Some drawings prepared by the educator in which different figures are drawn designed differently, an example in the following figures: Figure 1. Figure 2. B. The number of drawings should be prepared according to the number of groups. Description of the scenario/simulation game. This activity is structured in several phases, as described below. Define the quality of leadership. The concept of leader is controversial, especially because it often takes on a negative meaning in public opinion. The behavior of a leader is sometimes confused with despotic attitudes that do not really belong to the role of a leader. The role of leader does not refer to a negative person, but to someone who leads or inspires other people, thus a neutral or positive meaning. That is why it is important at the beginning of the exercise to take a moment to reflect together on what is a good leader. Working in pairs, the groups have to create a diagram/concept map of what are the main qualities of a leader in their opinion. They have to put in the middle of the paper the word leader and structure a diagram where the most important qualities are close to the middle and the less important are more distant to the center. The groups will compare their diagrams and should discuss about the similarities and differences. The educator helps groups to create a productive discussion. The educator will describe the concept of leadership, see Annex I, and will discuss with the participants about what they wrote on their concept maps, see questions in debriefing section. Practice, improve and develop leadership. 1. First round. The game wants to simulate a work situation, in which there are 2 workers involved, the leader/the boss and who is guided. The first, the boss, assigns a task to an employee without sharing with him all the information about the whole work. To complete the game, the boss needs to be able to communicate calmly and clearly and encourage the other employee to finish the task. The educator explains the first round of the game. The educator assigns to each group 2 different roles, Player 1, the leader, and Player 2, who is guided. Player 1 has to lead Player 2 in the reconstruction of a figure created with different building blocks. Player 1 has a piece of paper with different shapes drawn and distributed in several ways. Should describe and guide Player 2 in the reconstruction of the figure. See what Player 2 does. Player 2 doesn't know the figure. Is in front of a table with different shapes. Has to create the figure as Player 1 describes it. Player 1 represents the leader and is responsible for conducting Player 2 to complete the figure. The figure is the goal of the game and represents the objectives that a group should be reached thanks to the support of their leader. The role of the leader is important and necessary to achieve a goal. The leader must use different qualities to be able to explain the figure to the Player 2. As in the game, the leader must be able to coordinate and convey information to his/her team in real life. If he or she is a good leader, the others will let him/herself be guided to the desired goal. At the end of this round, the educator will propose some debriefing questions, see questions in debriefing section, regarding the roles in the first round. 2. Second round. The second round works in the same way that the first one, but players exchange the roles. The educator uses the same debriefing questions that were used in the first round. Quality of a good leader. The educator will conclude the rounds reflecting on the most important qualities of leadership and explaining the relationship between a leader and people who are guided. Visual idea, the balance. The educator takes 2 building blocks and positions them vertically, one leaning against the other. One building block represents the leader and the other the person who is guided. If the leader pushes too hard, the other piece probably will fall. This is the representation of a good balance between the leader and the one being led. A good leader should help the other to support himself/herself without being too prevaricating or too compliant. If the leader leaves, the other falls. If the leader pushes too hard, the other falls. Instructions and/or role of the participants. Define the quality of leadership. Participants have to be divided into groups of 2 people. Each group creates their own diagram/concept map with the qualities of a leader. Each group compares the diagram/concept map with other groups. Debriefing. Practice, improve and develop leadership. 1. First round. As the first step of the game, players must place themselves in their position. Player 2 stands in front of a table with several building blocks different for shape, size and color. Player 1 is behind him and doesn't see what's happening on the table. There are 3 matches in the first round. When the players are all in place, the educator delivers 3 sheets of paper to all players/S1. In the paper are drawn different shapes, e.g., triangle, square, rectangle, and circle, in various positions. Game starts. Player 1 begins to describe the drawing to Player 2, who can't see the drawing. The Player 2 must place the building blocks on the table as described by the Player 1, that can't see what the Player 2 does. After 5 minutes, Player 1 starts to describe the second drawing and Player 2 starts to place the building blocks in another area of the table. This situation is repeated also for the last round. Time is indicated by the educator, that after 5 minutes tell Player 1 to throw away the sheet of paper and move on to the next drawing. But the players can decide to finish 1 round or more before the time expires, so as to have an advantage against the opposing teams. In this option, the team that finishes all the tricks before time can declare the game over and all players must stop. At this point, the educator checks the figures that Player 2 has created to see if similar to those are described by Player 1. The game is won by the team that has created the compositions most similar to the original drawings. 2. Second round. The second round works in the same way that the first one, but players exchange the roles. In this way all participants will play the role of leader and follower. Debriefing questions. Debriefing. Why did you choose this concept and why do you think is related to leadership? Debriefing. 2. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. What do you think about the role of the leader and the role of the person who is guided? During the game, was there good communication between the players of the same group? What qualities are the most important in this type of game? Has your group achieved the goal? Why is the figure of the leader so important for achieving the team's goal? Debriefing. 3. Use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. See the question in debriefing. 2. Description of the evaluation method of the activity. The evaluation system is based on the result of the game. Open questions and/or feedback questionnaire. For further information see Annex 2. Annex I, Proposed Theory. In a world that is more and more about appearances, we are all fascinated by those who lead, by leaders, by those people who are able to exert such an influence on others that they change their behavior and follow them. But what does it really mean to be a leader? Where does the term leadership come from? Etymologically, the term leadership comes from the English root of the verb to lead, which means guide/lead. Leadership has different definitions because this concept is applied to different environments and therefore can take on a different meaning depending on the context. For a long time, the definition of leadership has been linked to a personal quality. But leadership, as began to be highlighted after the Second World War, is not an innate quality of a person, but a skill, a characteristic that has to be learned and improved and that depends on a key element, the followers. Sylvia A. 2016. Following this sense, we propose the definition of Bruce E. Winston and Kathleen Patterson, 2006. A leader is one or more people who select, equips, trains, and influences one or more followers who have diverse gifts, abilities, and skills and focuses the followers to the organization's mission and objectives, causing the followers to willingly and enthusiastically expend spiritual, emotional, and physical energy in a concerted, coordinated effort to achieve the organizational mission and objectives. In order to explain what leadership is, we list some key elements that determine it. Someone who inspires others. Leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act toward achieving a common goal. In a business setting, this can mean directing workers and colleagues with a strategy to meet the company's needs. Ward, 2020. In general, most of the definitions according to the core of leadership is the ability to inspire other people. A leader is able to engage others to do what he or she wants. Not everyone is born a leader, but there are some skills that you can improve to develop this ability. Reach a goal. A leader drives other people to achieve a goal. The influence that a leader exerts on people never ends in itself, but always has a purpose. In addition, the leader is able to push others to give the best they can to achieve a result. He or she is able not only to guide them on what they have to do but also motivating them to do an effort. Is different from power/authority. Another important aspect of leadership is that someone who is in a high hierarchy position is not automatically perceived as a leader. Leadership has nothing to do with titles. You can be a leader in your place of worship, your neighborhood, in your family, all without having a title. Leadership stems from social influence, not authority or power. Kevin Cruiser, 2013. In conclusion, the role of the leader is essential in a group or a work team. A good leader guides others to success, reaching common goals. He or she has to be an inspiration to others at the same time. The leader has to motivate and support his/her staff. Some of the qualities to be a good leader: communication, ability to delegate, support and motivate others, empathy, proactiveness. Additional resources. If you are interested in learning more about leadership, you can find other resources below. 4 tips to improve leadership skills. Brian Tracy. Great leadership starts with self-leadership. Lars Sudman. How Great Leaders Inspire Action. Simon Sinek. TED Talk. Leaderverse Manager. Simon Sinek. What It Takes to Be a Great Leader. Rosalind Torres. TED Talk. References. Winston, B. E., and Patterson, K. 2006. An Integrative Definition of Leadership. International Journal of Leadership Studies, 1, 6-66. Silver, A. 2016. What is Leadership? Journal of Business Studies Quarterly, Antioch Volume 8, Fash. 1, 1-5. Ward S. 2020. What is Leadership? Definition and Examples of Leadership. The Balanced Small Business. Cruiser K. 2013. What is Leadership? Forbes.
Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation System. The evaluation will be supplied by 2 indicators. The first concerns the result of the game and the compositions of shapes that players 2 are made. If the compositions are similar to the original drawings, the communication between the gamers is effective, otherwise, there was some obstacle in communication. The second stage of evaluation is an evaluation questionnaire. 1. What was the hardest thing during the game? 2. How did you help the other gamer during the game? 3. How was communication during the game, easy or difficult? 4. How could you make the exchange of information more helpful? 5. Was the other player patient and supportive, or not?
3.12. Collecting and processing information. Name of the activity, construction of abbreviations. Competencies target, main competence, collecting and processing information. Side competencies, problem solving, strategical and innovative thinking. Duration, total, 2 hours. Define the concept, 10 minutes. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Practice, improve and develop collecting and processing information, 1 hour. Debriefing, 10 minutes. Benefits of the competence: 10 minutes. Tips for being more able in everyday life, 10 minutes. Evaluation, 10 minutes. Number of participants, approximately 10 people. Materials needed, BBU materials, building blocks. Additional materials. Labels. Property advertisements, preferably from authentic. Objectives and/or learning outcomes. The objective of this activity is for the participants to use a method of categorizing information, reading, comparing, analyzing, and deducing, in a real case. It's about deducing skill and autonomy and the way of thinking. At the end of this activity, the participants should be able to use this method in different situations. Description of the scenario/simulation game. Define the concept of the method of data processing. The educator asks the participants what they understand when they hear data processing. After hearing them out, the educator sums all the right ideas into a short explanation of the concept. See Annex I, definitions. Practice, improve and develop collecting and processing information. The educator distributes to each participant examples of real estate advertisements containing a maximum of common and specific abbreviations, initials, acronyms, symbols, conventional and non-conventional. Everyone should write them down on labels and stick them on building blocks. With the labeled blocks and with blank ones, the participants are free to make an initial construction that represents either their current dwelling or their dream dwelling, and they give as detailed a description as possible. Then the educator will give examples of housing searches and the participants will each have to try to give a housing proposal that is as suitable as possible, giving all the necessary information. https://www.bumc.edu/housing search/abbreviations/. Finally, the educator gives an example of a very detailed real estate advertisement that uses a maximum of abbreviations that the group should try to reproduce as well as possible with the building blocks. See Annex I, useful links. Debriefing, see questions in the debriefing section. Benefits of the competence. Conclusion by the educator about the method employed to realize this activity and how to apply it with other topics. Tips for being more able in everyday life. All important tips and realize a sort of summary about how to proceed to collect and process information, reading, comparing, analyzing, and deducing. Evaluation, see Annex II. Instructions and or role of the participants. Define the concept. The participants will be asked their understanding on the concept of collecting and proceeding information. After providing their opinions, the educators will provide them a brief and clear explanation of the concept. See Annex I, definitions. Practice, improve and develop collecting and processing information. The participants must remain concentrated and have a certain competitive spirit as this is an automation activity and therefore a speed activity. They will have to use the labels in an agile way and above all use them as real memory aids. Debriefing, see questions in the debriefing section. Benefits of the competence. Conclusion by the educator about the benefits of this method of processing information. Why is it important for independence and autonomy in everyday life, studies, or other exceptional situations? Tips for being more capable of collecting and processing information in everyday life. Remind the different steps to realize to process information and to not be blocked behind something we don't understand at first sight. Evaluation, see Annex II. Debriefing questions. Debriefing, use the ones you consider more necessary for your participants in their learning process. What do you think about the use of abbreviations? What method did you use to understand them? In everyday life, do you often use your deduction skills? Do you understand the logic of this method? Would you be able to apply the same approach to another topic individually? Can you describe the different stages of this activity: reading data, reflection, hypothesis, analysis, comparison, interpretation, deduction? Description of the evaluation method of the activity. After the activity, a self-assessment questionnaire on the knowledge acquired by the learners and their satisfaction with the final construction. Score out of 10 and justify your score. An evaluation of the participants by the educator on the progress of the activity, initiative, speaking, participation, understanding and production. A proposed evaluation questionnaire, see Annex II. Annex I, definitions. Data processing. When we talk about data processing, we mean the use of different processes: collection, recording, organization, storage, adaptation, modification, retrieval, consultation, use, communication by transmission or dissemination or any other form of making available, reconciliation. Situation. It is a matter of collecting, recording, and using specific words related to our topic in order to represent them in a new form, that of abbreviations. Abbreviations, a graphic reduction of a word or series of words. The word resulting from this reduction, the abbreviation for kilogram, is kilo. A conventional sign or character intended to simplify musical writing and reading. Useful links. https://www.realtor.com/ https://www.zillow.com/ Annex 2, Proposed Evaluation Questionnaire. 1. Why do we use abbreviations? A. To make the communication more difficult. B. To facilitate written interaction. C. To facilitate oral interaction. 2. Did you know the system of abbreviations before? A. Yes. B. No. C. No opinion. 3. Do you already use this way of processing information? A. Yes. B. No. C. No opinion. 4. What does processing information mean? A. It's a method to understand an operation. B. It's a scientific software. C. It's a way to create abbreviation. 5. Did the building blocks help you to understand the topic? A. Yes. B. No. C. No opinion. 6. What are the different steps to process unknown information? 7. Which step is the most important according to you? 8. Did you use this method before? Could you give some examples? 9. Do you know another method that could work better? 10. What did you think about this activity?
4. Training Plan. For full training plan presentation, see Annex I. 5. Data from the pilot phase 1 and 2. Questionnaire BuildIT, build your future piece by piece. Hello and thank you for participating in our survey. This survey will help us to improve our training and educational materials of BBU methodology and prepare better for the pilot phase 2 and create the state-of-the-art final outputs. The survey shouldn't take you longer than 10 minutes. Thank you. About the project. The primary idea of our project is anchored in designing a new educational methodology called Building Based Upskilling and strategic activities based on it, and to provide them to adult educators. These educators will be able to use it with their learners' more specific needs, to enhance their transversal and key competencies. Project No. 2021 PL01 KA204081703. Questionnaire 1. 1. Gender. Female. Male. Prefer not to say. 2. Age. Up to 29. 30 to 39. 40 to 49. 50 to 59. 60 plus. 3. How many years have you been teaching adults? Less than 1 year. 1 to 5 years. 6 to 10 years. More than 10 years. 4. What is your target group? NEET with university studies. NEET with low skills. Migrants. Low-skill adults. Adults at risk of poverty and/or social inclusion. 5. To what extent is this an innovative methodology? Low to high. 6. To what extent is this methodology useful for learning transversal competencies? Low to high. 7. To what extent could this methodology change the image of adult learning into a more attractive, accessible, and useful one? Low to high. 8. Do you think this methodology can help to mobilize and motivate adult learners? Low to high. 9. Do you think that this methodology can enhance and improve the skills of adult educators? Low to high. 10. To what extent did you understand the basics of the BBU methodology? Low to high. 11. Did you feel like the puzzles and the building blocks were useful to understand? Low to high. 12. To what extent are the activities understandable for the educator, easy to understand and implement? Low to high. 13. To what extent can the activities be implemented in adult learning, due to the adult curricula and logistics of the adult center? Low to high. 14. With regard to the previous question, 13, if you are referring to more than one target group, please specify for each group. 15. To what extent could this methodology be used by adult learners, considering the way that an adult learner has to learn? Low to high. 16. With regard to the previous question, 15, if you are referring to more than one target group, Please specify for each target group. 17. What do you think are the strengths of this methodology and activities? 18. What do you think are the weaknesses of this methodology and activities? 19. What would you include in this methodology and its activities? 20. Is there anything else you would like to add? Thank you for your time and effort. We appreciate it. If you have any questions regarding the project, please don't hesitate to contact us at contact@BuildIT.eu or visit our website https://www.builditproject.eu/. 6. Pedagogical resources. 6.1 About the European policy context. EU policy in the field of adult learning. A new strategic agenda 2019 to 2024, European Council, press release, the 20th of June 2019. Achieving the European Education Area by 2025, Communication, European Commission, Brussels, the 30th of September 2020. European Policy Cooperation, ET 2020 Framework. Country Reports, Adult Education in Europe 2019, A Civil Society View. https://eea.org/wp content/uploads/2019/12/country reports 2019.pdf. European Education and Training Expert Panel's recommendations for the post-2020 framework. Commission Expert Group on European Education and Training Expert Panel, the 29th of June 2018, update the 12th of November 2019. Council recommendation of the 19th of December 2016 on upskilling pathways, new opportunities for adults, the 19th of December 2016. Adult Education and Training in Europe, Programme to Raise Achievement in Basic Skills, Country Descriptions. Catalogue of Transversal Competencies Key for Employability. Developed by Keystart 2 Work Project. Young People and Needs in Europe, First Findings. Publications Office of the EU, the 1st of December 2017. Young People Neither in Employment nor in Education and Training by Sex, Age and Labour Status, NEET Rates, Eurostat, last update, the 8th of February 2021. 6.2 About the methodology. Lego Serious Play. Lego Serious Play, LSP, Methodology, Liquid Agency. Lego Serious Play, Introduction. MacLeod, S. A., 2017, October 24. Kolb, Learning Styles. Simply Psychology. 8 Things to Know About the Experiential Learning Cycle, EBLS. Kolb's Learning Cycle Explained with Example, EPM. Article American Journalism Review, 2015. Peterson, Deb. 5 Principles for the Teacher of Adults. The Adult Learning Theory, Andragogy, infographic. Learning Theorist, Malcolm Knowles, Andragogy, Heidi Scher, eTech. Assumptions About Learners, Malcolm Knowles, Idle Courses. Article The 6-Step Problem-Solving Model. Article Strategic Thinking, How to Give Your Life Purpose. Article The 9 Belbin Team Roles. Authors of the Handbook. 1. Sona Stefkova, Top Coach, Slovakia. 2. Veronika Karim, Top Coach, Slovakia. 3. Sophie Perez-Povda, Ligue de l'Enseignement Nouvelle-Aquitaine, Bordeaux, France. 4. Rita Silva Varisco, Ligue de l'Enseignement Nouvelle-Aquitaine, Bordeaux, France. 5. Léa Palit, Ligue de l'Enseignement Nouvelle-Aquitaine, Bordeaux, France. 6. Del Nero, Eurocrea Merchant, Italy. 7. Stefania Tudoric, Defo Gestione Strategica, Spain. 8. Manuel Carabias, Defo Gestione Strategica, Spain. 9. Alexandra Sijeka, Mendelbaum, Spinoz, Poland. 10. Aneta Orska, Spinoz, Poland.